Welcome, everybody, to MogTalk, episode 167. Today is June 1st, 2019, and we're going to be discussing the Media Tour 2019. If you guys aren't familiar with MogTalk, we are a podcast that discusses everything from Chocobo Racing to Savage Raiding. And today, since we've all been out there and we've experienced what it's like to go to these events, we want to just kind of talk about that and share it with everybody, and maybe answer some questions that you guys have. But yeah, before we get too deep into it, let's go ahead and introduce everybody. We will go clockwise here. So I'm going to start with Larry. Larry, can you tell everybody who you are?
Hello, I'm Larry. I make dumb videos and I stream. That's what I do. Hello.
Okay. Good. Jess?
Hi, I'm Jess. I also stream and I'm trying to do videos, but I suck at editing, so that's not really working out so far.
Okay. One day, we can see it.
I'm gonna get there.
All right. Homeless guy Ethys.
Hi, I'm Ethys, and I had to sell my apartment so that I could get to the media tour. So I'm living in a storage shed down by the docks. I can't tell you which docks because I don't want to get moved on. But I stream and I make videos, and if I thought they were pretty good, but I'm homeless, so they're probably
not doing
McDonald's
too well.
Wi-Fi.
Probably not that good. Yeah, no.
What? No. You could hear like the greaser going in the corner or something. Tate.
Hi, I'm Tate, and I'm a PNG image.
It's true. I mean, absolutely.
I stream and make YouTube videos as well.
Okay.
Talking image.
So I wanted to get multiple perspectives here. So if you don't know, Jess and Ethys went to the EU media events. Larry and Tate and I went to the NA media event. And we just kind of want to talk about our experiences there, kind of how everything went, and maybe some things that stood out to us. And thank you guys, everyone who's here already for the show. But first topic, to go ahead and start this off, I do want to ask you just a very generic question of kind of how that whole experience was going to the media tour. Like some of you, it has been your first time going. So like Larry, it's your first time. Yeah. How did that kind of feel getting invited?
Well, when the first one that happened that they did the media tours was the Stormblood one. And that was like when I was a little baby Zor. I was just like starting off my YouTube channel then. Like growing to where I have now and being able to go to this one was just absolutely amazing, and just what I was really like hoping to be able to do one day. So I was just really excited because of that.
Yeah, I mean, you've grown a lot over 2 years, I gotta say.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jess, this was your first time too. Did you enjoy it kind of going out there?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I had a little bonus that there were also some people who I knew who are not like streaming or anything. And it was just a nice experience to share that with some people and to actually sit on the booth and play with people who like can actually play the game, so you don't wipe, you know?
Oh, so you tried the trust system too?
No, fuck that.
Wow.
I don't want a level 73 rogue in my party. Like,
oh,
no.
I was trying to make fun of everybody else because it's funny. The trust system. I didn't die with the trust system, but I did die with my teammates.
Oof.
The humans.
Doesn't speak for them.
Their healer must have really sucked.
He did.
Wow.
Oh no, I'm just kidding.
Did Larry heal for you?
No, it was Tate.
me.
And Ethys, you flew quite a distance to go to the media tour.
I did. I spent like 30 hours in transit, which is cool. I'm still in Europe. I still haven't found a way home. I'm very cold and very hungry.
Please, Sid.
Don't laugh. I'm serious. I'm stuck in Norway. It's like snowing and shit.
We're gonna see people
Ever
walk
seen
by.
Snow?
We're gonna see people walk by and drop down coins and stuff into like a hat next to Ethys while we're doing.
Please, I don't have any shoes. Look, I had to sell them for a sandwich.
That's not allowed on Twitch, bro. My guess.
Oh no! Oh
Subscribe
shit!
to Ethys.
Yeah, it is. It's fine. It's in context.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. But yeah, I mean, you're used to that though. I mean, you've done that how many times?
Oh, dude, so many times, like too many times. I mean, for Final Fantasy 14, if you want to do anything or be in any events, they're not in Australia that much so often.
I mean, not a lot is.
Not so much. I mean, we had PAX that one year, and we might have it again this year. Yoshida said he would very much like to, and that basically it was in the EU team's court now, so that should be cool.
I mean, we don't even fly out Australians to play Australians in our movies and shows, you know?
No, that's true. You just get some dickhead from LA to fake an Australian accent.
All right.
Fucking Junkrat, man.
Oh, I hate Junkrat.
Oh.
Who doesn't?
Gameplay wise, I hate Junkrat.
Oh. And Tate, this was your first media event, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How'd you like it?
It was incredible. So, like, when I'm in the same boat as Larry, where I kind of started playing, like, not started playing, but started streaming and making videos, like, right when Stormblood was on the up and coming. Mm-hmm. And I remember the media event happening back then. I was chatting with Mary, and I remember talking about, like, yo, my goal is that next time this happens is I want to go, and I was able to achieve that, so I'm really happy.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You know what's funny? I think, was it right after Stormblood I started getting you on MogTalk, or was it like
yeah. I kind of like Stormblood carried me. Like the hype for Stormblood like blew my stream up way faster than I had any right blowing up, so it was really nice.
It's pretty awesome, man. And the really fun thing about the kind of NA event that we had, I think 95% of the people, almost everyone there, has been on MogTalk, and I've talked to multiple times, and like I don't know, we knew each other. It was like a family of content creators, people who've been doing Twitch and everything else. And so it was pretty interesting. You know what's also interesting is that Larry, Drac, and myself are from the same place, and they sat us at the exact same table to play together.
Listen, we may have worked that out though.
Really?
Did you get put to, like, couldn't you choose your table?
No, they assigned us.
Oh,
really?
That's interesting.
But we talked to somebody and had us kind of rearranged a little bit.
Oh, I never knew that.
Well, I think Frosty, you and me were default at the same table, but I think it might have been like
Drac talked to see if we could get at the the table as you guys, I think.
Okay, that's sweet. I didn't know you guys liked.
It
was probably Larry.
It was totally for Larry.
Fair. We were at table number 1 though, so we could feel pretty important, right? Yeah.
We were table number 1, and my character in the game was Shadow AG 1, so I was.
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of Shadow AD 1, Shadow AE 1.
No, I was number 1.
Oh, okay. Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. I gotcha. But yeah, no, that was pretty cool. And so, like, in the NA event, at least, so basically they had all those tables set up, and they set you guys in a group of 4 and encouraged you to go do a dungeon together or something else and all play together. I never knew I was kind of there's some background work going to make that happen, so now it's kind of interesting to know.
Yeah,
I mean, potentially Tate's going to be moving to the same area too, so we're all like local buddies, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
looking into it.
Yeah. But anyways, no, so that was kind of the NA event and everything. With EU, did you guys know a lot of people that were around you? Well, as
the thing is with EU, because you have like the different languages, the event was like split, sorta, like not like journalists and influencers, because I think NA was only 2 days, right?
Yep.
So the European event was 3 days. I think Friday was for English.
Yeah, Friday was mostly English.
Then I went on Thursday, which was German and French, I think, or Spanish. And no, wait, French was on Wednesday with some other language.
Wednesday was Japanese. There was actually a lot of Japanese media there on Wednesday. It was mostly Japanese and French.
So they didn't do one in Japan? Or did they?
No, that would be redundant. Like the Japanese media can just go down to the office like anytime, right?
Well, I mean, they could still do
if you don't leave Tokyo, is it?
Well, I mean, you could do one in Japan, then go to England or go to wherever, the EU media
they
event
do
was.
they do like media events pre-expansion quite a few times in Japan, but it was just like a lot of the larger outlets, they just sort of like send to any one of them.
Okay. That's pretty interesting. Because it felt weird. It feels weird, at least, that they would send Japanese media to an EU event when they could, again, like you said, just do it.
Yeah.
There. So.
Yeah, but like in terms of knowing anyone, I did know some of the Germans because I knew them previously from either Gamescom or Iri, who works at Mein MMO, which is like a German, like one of the biggest German sites in terms of like Final Fantasy content.
Mm-hmm.
And we both live in Berlin, so we also travel together and stuff because like Square knew, okay, they know each other.
Wait a minute. Just real. It's called 9 MMO.
Mein MMO, which is
mine.
like my MMO.
I thought it was no MMO, and I was just like,
Oh no.
I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Nine.
But
Go ahead.
yeah, so I knew some people based on that, but like from everyone who I would call a journalist, minus Iri, I didn't know anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I knew one person from FanFest in Paris,
but
that's it. No one else. Like I sometimes I didn't even know like the outlet.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's kind of interesting because I mean, the only influencer event that really happened was in NA, and they had kind of a mix of journalists and various other types kind of going to the EU event, and they just split it up by language. So I'm actually kind of curious because you said they're like French and Japanese were one day. Did they do all of the presentation like in English or?
Yeah, they did the presentation in English and Japanese, and that was it.
Huh.
And I guess they just counted on the French and German and Spanish media there to be able to figure it out.
Okay.
To know English?
You would expect if you're a journalist that you can speak English, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean,
I don't know.
I guess so. So it was Amy and Yoshida kind of sitting there, and you just had the same sort of translation everyone else had?
Yeah.
Cool.
And I see, we're ignorant Americans, right? We don't understand the concept of media in other countries and everything else.
Well, what I was wondering was like, does he have other translators that translate from Japanese to another language? But I guess maybe not.
No.
Maybe they just have the English translators.
Okay.
I assume that each of the like major European outlets would either be sending people to understand English, or they would have the facilities to translate it pretty easily themselves.
I mean, the thing is, like, the game was in English as well, and as far as I know, you were not able to like change the language on the game, so it wouldn't make much sense to send anyone who doesn't understand English. Right. And like, why I asked you guys before about like being assigned to a seat, at least in my group, like in the German presentation thingy, we could just choose a seat.
Yeah, we didn't have anything like that.
So that's really interesting to me. I wonder if they had like anything in mind to assign you, if it was the same for the journalists or if it was like a special thing for the influencers. One
thing that I was kind of hoping was the case was because they were assigning, sometimes like with preview events like this, they'll have some kind of overlay on the screen. So you could tell like if somebody leaks something, they can find out who it was. So I was assuming that that's why we had assigned seats.
Absolutely. That's why I thought it was. I was like, hey, this person has this account and this is what they're logged in as. If we see anything from whatever we encrypted on this account, then, we would know exactly who leaked.
But they did that for NA, but not for EU. But every time this has happened, the leaks have always come from EU, not NA.
Well, no, but they didn't actually do that. I was just thinking that was why they assigned the seats, but they didn't do that.
I guess they didn't do it. Yeah. I mean, they may have, and no NA leaks happened. I don't know.
I feel like even though we got assigned seats, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have told us not to if we just like swapped with somebody anyway.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think it really mattered. I think maybe it was just to be.
It was just quick. To be organized, I think.
Yeah, it was just to make it quick.
There's no organization in the EU. What can you say?
Influencers are fucking savages. All right, you guys. we need to be tamed. We need to be collared and tamed.
Tell us where to go. Like I just too much power if I could just sit anywhere.
Yeah, I just grabbed like 3 people I knew and was like, okay, let's go up there first so we can sit all together and can actually play the game.
Yeah.
It worked.
And so I'm guessing they did the split languages and everything just so the people you were talking to could communicate a little bit easier. If they felt more comfortable speaking French or something else, they could while they're talking to each other. I mean, I don't. That's the only reason I could think why they would split the languages up if they did everything in English, anyways.
I think it's also because like it's just easier. Like I guess some people talked with each other. I mainly talked like with the people I knew beforehand, and then obviously the staff. And ironically, even the people who were there who are German, because like Square has their like headquarters in London, like the European ones.
Right.
So obviously there were like German people as well. Even with those people, I mainly talked English at the event. So
Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, they did 3 days of just media over there for Europe, and they did 1 day of media for NA.
Did you guys get multiple days to play, or just the 1 day each?
Just a 1 day.
Yeah.
I got.
You did?
Oh,
what?
Does that mean how long was the days there? Was it the same that we had? Like,
I flew on Wednesday, and I couldn't get into my hotel, so I just went straight to the event. They're like, "Oh, you're not supposed to be until Friday," and I was like, "Can I come in?" Like, yeah. So
Tried that.
we probably should have tried that, right? Just walk. Oh, we're here a little early. All right.
that would have changed everything. If we had 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy crap.
Because, I mean, going through that whole event, too, like, the first thing I did was, like, all right, video, skill. It just, like, hovered over every single thing I could, right? And just got as much information. And then after I got the information, I'm like, all right, now I need to plan out what I'm going to do. And it was weird because it's you want to, like, work together in some way, but there's only so much, right? That you can really work together because you have enough time to get the information you really need. It's just deep, like, playing this job or deep playing that job or something else. Otherwise, I don't know. I felt like we had enough time, but the second day, if I could have gone a second day, I would have realized things that I wanted to do that I might have missed.
Oh yeah, laying in bed that night, just being like, "Oh God, I forgot this and this." Yeah.
Like
the first day, I was so fucking jet lagged that it was just completely useless. Like I got in at 6 o'clock in the morning, right, and I went straight to the event. After being in transit for 30 hours. So I was totally useless. I watched the presentation. I made notes. I went and sat down with the build and like worked out basically my plan for the next day, like where I wanted to go and the things that I wanted to record. And then I was like, okay, I can't do this. Back to my hotel.
Okay.
How long did you guys have like at the event for the 1 day you went?
It was after
hours.
No,
Not 10,
well,
no.
no.
Well, no, it was okay. It
That would
was
be
more
6 to 6, right? No, it ended at 6.
That would be 12 hours. You stupid fuck.
Fuck you.
6 to 6.
8 to 6. 8 to 6. Then. All right, whatever.
That's what it was, though. We got like the event started. I guess the event started at like 8:30, but then we had presentation, so I guess we started more at like 10.
Yeah.
So it was like 10 to 6 p.m.
Gameplay started around 10:30 to 11. We had a solid like 7 hours, including like
so
eating.
long. What the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was longer? Interesting.
Wow.
How long did you have, Jess?
Like the presentation was finished around 10:30,
Mm-hmm.
and then, well, I mean, it was in London, and a lot of people like they booked flights on the same evening.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the event itself went on until 6 p.m.
Yeah.
But most people had to leave like at 3 or 4 p.m. already.
Oh wow!
Like my flight was at 7:30, but I had to leave the event at 4.
Oh my god, I would have been so mad.
Yeah, no.
So-
I made sure that I was going to be able to go to the whole event and be able to do everything.
I mean, like we got told afterwards that you could have just said like, yo, you want to stay like a bit longer, like the flight is paid anyways. So
Their communication lacked a little.
I have an interesting story about that. So I didn't pay attention to when the flight was scheduled at first, and the presentation started at like what it was 9:45 originally, and they went down to 9:15, something like that.
Around 9:30.
Yeah, my flight was scheduled to come in at 9:15 that morning.
You would have missed it.
And the transit going there in traffic would have been about an hour.
Yeah.
No.
And then I don't get to check into my hotel room until like 3. And so like I'd be carrying around everything that I brought with me the entire time.
And this is what they booked.
Yeah, so they booked it this way.
Yeah.
But I will say, after that point, I was like, hey, this is an issue. And I did work through the whole thing, and they got it fixed for me, right? And so
that's good.
we were able to work it out and everything. But yeah, no, it was a mild panic attack.
Yeah.
Because I didn't pay attention at first. I was just like, whatever they give me is just great, and
It's
everything
fine.
else. And I think like just trying to organize all this other stuff, it had to be just like a little slip up or something there. So you got to pay attention, even no matter who's sending you out anywhere. Anything can happen.
Yeah, maybe they thought the day was the day
Even-
before, whatever.
With the NA Fan Fest, were all the stations full? Like, did we have a full like set? I don't remember.
No, we had a few computers empty.
Okay, because I was gonna say I know at least 2 people who got invited that weren't able to go, and I was wondering like if everything was full, if that would have been an issue.
In a fan fest.
Sorry, I meant media.
Okay, I
Twitter.
was like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
I was like, you guys had a private event to go ahead. But no, yeah. No, we had maybe 3. We had almost a full table, I think, that was open.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure how they went about like deciding who's going to go and everything else. It's whatever. I think I won't get into that because I know it's kind of a touchy subject for some people because there are a lot of people who are not happy about it on social media.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna happen.
And it's sad. In the end, it's not. You shouldn't devalue what other people are doing just because you're not there and doing it too. And so it was just disheartening to see that. And it wasn't just like random people too. It was people I knew who they were, right? And that was the
disappointing to
part.
see.
Yeah,
we saw the same thing after the last one, and it's always disappointing to not be included. But people just got to remember that like it's not about the quality of your content. It's not about your numbers. There are so many like other factors for being on the radar for stuff like this. And it's just like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But if you're a content creator and you want to go, put yourself out there, like send the emails. If you don't know that you're on Square Enix's radar, you're not sure that you're on their radar, speak to the community team, send an email, make your case.
Yeah.
I only got to go to the Stormblood one in San Francisco because like after the invites started going out, I reached out to the community team and I said, hey, you guys might not know, but I'm actually living in LA at the moment. Do you mind if I come along? And they said, yeah, absolutely. And same thing with this one. Like there was no way that they were going to fly a little Australian influencer out to London for something like this. It's like a multi-$1,000 round trip. Right. But I went and spoke to one of the media outlets here in Australia and was like, hey, do you want to cover this event? Like, I'm happy to write for you if you guys want to hit it. You just gotta, you gotta do the work. You gotta join the dots.
Yeah, if you want to go, you can
put yourself out there. Yeah.
And I mean, I've been in the community for what is it, 4 years? Or at least like actually doing MogTalk and everything else is a little bit over 4 years. And when people, I'm assuming when they invite you to something, they kind of hope that they can trust this person to be an adult, right? They and you don't know that. You don't just, you could be like the nicest, coolest person in the world, but they have to know that when they invite you, you're not going to be a horrible piece of shit afterwards.
Well, particularly with influencers, right? It's like you're not answerable to anyone. That's kind of like for publishers and for like PR. That's kind of the scary thing about influencers is that like we say what we want, we do what we want. We're not answerable to anyone. We're not beholden to anyone except for our audience. Whereas like media and stuff like that, if they start misbehaving, what do they get in big trouble?
Right.
So it for influencers in particular, it's a big trust issue. And that's something that, like you say, you need to demonstrate over a long period of time.
Yeah. And I mean, that can happen. You just have to kind of work with it. And I mean, again, very touchy subject for a lot of people. And it's one of the things that kind of irritated. I knew it was going to happen, but it still irritated me, right? It still bothers me. and it's not because of random Reddit idiots saying stuff. It's more of like the people that I know. And after the event, if they see, and this is something that's I saw multiple people who work in the industry say, if you're acting like a child after it and you're not invited to something, that doesn't help you at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hurting your case.
Right.
I think if someone is like semi-known, even if they didn't get invited, they might still be like on the radar. And if they then throw like a temper tantrum or whatever, people will remember that.
Right.
Like,
oh yeah,
it's their job, right? It's their job to be right about who they picked to bring to this thing. And so if something bad happens, it's on them. It makes them look bad. And so what I will say is while there, we talked a lot, or I saw a lot of the community team. Like Matt came around, like multiple people. Tony, everyone, Rennie, they all kind of came around and they were just like, hey, what's up? How you guys doing? And they were nice and they're awesome. I've never had a bad experience with any of them. I feel like they treat us pretty well. It's really cool about that event. It looked really cool at the NA side. It looked, I don't know if the EU maybe had secret horrible stuff in the background. I didn't get to see it personally. It looked like it was cool. But NA, it was really awesome. They had all the Velvet stuff going on, and they had the Cokes and Sprites and stuff over there in the corner. You can go and get
the LaCroix.
And the LaCroix.
Drinking the LaCroix, it was all mine.
Right. And they had food. They made catered lunch. They brought it out and put everything out there and everything. And it was just like...
that was too fancy for Tate's 12-year-old palate, as he said.
All I wanted was chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's like, I can't eat any of this, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked it, though. The beet salad was actually pretty good. I didn't think it was...
That was too scary for me.
Yeah.
I thought it was roast beef when I first got it.
I just got the chicken, dude.
Oh, my God. I don't know which one of those reactions is more embarrassing.
But it was really dark, right? And so there was like a really dark and like kind of a little light
now the
going over.
excuses come up.
Okay. I'm just saying.
I thought it was meat too. I didn't know that was beets.
Yeah. But I mean, overall, I think that, they treated us pretty well. When we did like interviews at the NA side and everything, I'm not sure what the media got there, but it felt really personal. Like Tate and I went in together. We were doing the interview, and I don't know, we were like, 2 feet away from Yoshida, maybe?
Yeah.
It honestly, like, it was, I know it's not your first time talking to Yoshida, but it was my first time being in there, and it felt like it wasn't a nervous atmosphere at all. It felt like just a couple of dudes chatting it out, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously I was still nervous as all hell, but other than that, it was pretty chill.
I walked in with Avalon Star, and you know how like the hallway, it was like really long, and it was just on the opposite end of that hallway was Yoshi P just sitting with his legs crossed on the couch.
Yeah.
Like me and Avalon were like,
welcome to the boss room.
And then they opened the door, and we both kind of just like stopped.
Are we allowed to go forward? The king has to tell us to come forward, right?
Yeah. It was like really nerve-wracking.
Yeah, but Yoshida's a cool guy. Like, I've never had a bad experience talking to him. Every single time, he's just nice and kind, and he seems like he wants to have the conversation and respond with a genuine answer.
I think he loves his game, and
and I think he really loves his position and being a good producer and being a good director, and he wants to make sure that still happens. But
I think.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, go ahead and give me your experience. Like I was going to, but Jess, could you tell? But go ahead.
I mean, I did not get an interview.
Oh,
I don't know why. Like I talked to Benny afterwards, and he's like, I have no idea why you didn't get like assigned a slot. Everyone got a slot at some point. What I can say though, in terms of like being like in close vicinity of Yoshida, because I had that backstage at Gamescom. I thought I would be hella nervous, but it was fine. Like I was nervous being on stage with him because I felt like, okay, you can't fuck up, like, but I think he just likes talking to people who love the game as much as he does.
Yeah.
So I would assume that maybe the way he talks to like people where he knows, okay, they produce content for the game I'm producing, is also a bit different than like journalists he has never like heard of or met or anything. No, this is just an assumption, right?
No, I agree with you 100%.
But
yeah.
I mean, if we had something we absolutely love and we created, and someone comes to us and loves the product, we would be like more enthusiastic and share more, and maybe share like different things than with an outlet where you sort of know, okay, they just like post very basic stuff.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like that's also needed, but you guys go more in depth, and I think he knows.
Yeah, no, and I kind of want to emphasize that point a little bit. I mean, it's important that there's large media that actually covers the event, because that's they get out to a lot of people. A lot of people watch or read their content for many other reasons than Final Fantasy 14. But the influencers, I don't know, content creators, people who are deeply involved in the game and always going out there and playing it, raiding, doing these things. He's deeply involved in the game too, right? He develops the game. And so these are things that he talks about. And so if you can have a serious conversation with somebody who knows what you make, it feels pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I will say on the part with the interview section, it was weird. I'm not sure what the logic was behind who got an interview, who didn't get an interview, or whatever else it was. Because some people went in with interviews by themselves. Some people went in with coupled. I think media had like 4 people go in at a time. It depended completely. I don't know how that whole back part works.
Yeah, I think most of us were 2.
Yeah. I think it was mostly just kind of a couple things. And some people had shorter interview times with just 1 person. Some people had longer with 2. And it was a little.
We were all paired, as far as I know. We were all paired, and we all had 45-minute slots. One thing I found really interesting, now that I guess I've experienced like both styles of interaction with influencers and with media, is that after the San Francisco Media Tour in 2017. Yeah, it was the beginning of 2017. I sort of thought that he was so relaxed and chill and cool because he was talking to influencers, because he was talking to people that he knew that loved the game. And I thought that he probably behaved differently towards media. But after being in London and seeing him interact with like larger media outlets and their reps, he treats them exactly the same. And I thought that was like really, really cool and really, really impressive, is that he has just as much time and just as much patience for people that are frankly often asking really, really dumb questions.
I mean, he has to. I mean, I was sitting next to you at the EU one when we had the guy.
You would have noticed all the dumb questions I was asking. Yeah.
No. So like, well, we would have one question before us that was, hey, when is the next, we saw Octopath did really well. So do you think Final Fantasy is going to go into turn-based games going forward? At a Final Fantasy 14 event, he's asking about other Final Fantasy franchises.
Are we talking the FanFest media thing at the end?
Yeah.
Oh, that was so bad sometimes.
So cringy. But like, he was cool about it.
Yeah, he was cool. He gave the answer that he needed to, and professionally and well. So
like, my experience is that when he's talking to influencers, he tends to like elaborate a lot more. He tends to give a lot more detail. He tends to use, I guess, like in-game terminology, like terminology that we as veterans would be familiar with, that someone who doesn't play the game would not be familiar with. And he tends to like get a little bit more animated, a little bit more excited when he's answering the questions. But the way he approaches the interactions, the way he approaches the interviews is exactly the same way. And I thought that was like really, really cool, because like if I put myself in his shoes and I have to listen to someone banging on about some fucking Kotaku ERP article that was published 2 years ago for like the 9th time in one morning, like I'd probably just be like, get the fuck out of my office, you know? But he's not. He's really cool, and he's really patient. And like all of the journalists that I were talking to came away from their interactions with him with the same sort of like deference that we have towards him. You know, we're all like, oh my God, Yoshida is so cool. The media, they all come away the same. They're like, oh my God, I've never met like a director and producer who's just so fucking cool. And these are people that talk to like, you know, everyone.
Right.
Yeah. And I found that really, really neat.
Yeah. I mean,
because he's awesome.
Yeah. She is awesome. We can all say that for sure. But I feel it was pretty great to be able to go through that whole event and everything else. And it's kind of odd, kind of how it all worked out with some people with it too. But other than that, the interview and going out and doing like the gameplay and stuff. I mean, when we got in to do the gameplay, we had certain instructions about, hey, just to let you know, you probably should try out these things. We have these things ready to present to you, like the Fates. How many of you guys tried out the Fates?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, I did a Fate on accident.
On accident? That's like the only place that we got any like texts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, the only thing I remember is killing some stuff and then getting a new currency. That was pretty much it, though.
Yeah. It wasn't really talked about too much, but I mean, Fates are going to be the new currency for the zone and getting special things. They're going to encourage you to do these Fates so you can go buy, I think, mount speeds was one of them.
Yeah.
Crafting materials probably as well, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think one also had like a pixie minion or something.
Mm-hmm.
Minions, bardings, and the stuff that we were seeing, they were only tier 1. So the more Fates you do, you'll like gain new tiers of rewards up to like a 6th tier for each zone.
I'm excited.
And presumably, like in those high tiers, it's going to be like, mounts and glamour.
Like,
and
it felt a bit like Beast Tribe rewards, just like in a Fate system.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of the Beast Tribes, like the Mughals, for example, they have like I don't know what it's called, the fluffy thingy.
the mount.
The
palm?
The thing that
flower.
the flower that you blow,
yeah,
but it's
yeah,
a mount. Yeah.
Yeah,
What is
yeah.
dandelion, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I think that's kind of what they're going for, and I think that's cool because it'll add more activity to zones, which zones are dead.
Yeah, I
Right.
was
Are we
really
still gonna
happy
have
with that.
tribes?
Yeah, I think they are. I think they are still going to be stripes because I mean they're going to have the dwarfs, right?
Yeah, they are still doing beast tribes. Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see that. And some of us didn't even leave the spot that we started in,
Dude,
right?
I was in the same spot the
I'm so
entire
guilty.
time.
Yeah.
I was in the exact same spot for 6 hours.
I'm very
And that
guilty.
Aetheryte and the Crystarium there.
No. Like right outside. Like I went to Lakeland, I went to the Aetheryte, and then just walked right out, and I just was there hitting things because I needed.
Me too.
I needed to attack stuff. I was on a sprint. I had like 20 minutes per job. To like get all the footage I needed for each job. So
It kind of sucked I didn't have dummies this time.
Yeah.
Like, I really missed that.
yeah, that was
Because you could not, I think in the field you could not like play around with rotations because stuff died and then
Yeah.
stuff
Unless
fell
you
off.
were
And
hitting A ranks or B ranks.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. We got together and we found an A rank and we went and smashed that. I submitted feedback after our one in London saying, hey, there are no dummies in any of these zones. Like people need to record rotations and stuff. Do you think maybe for the NA one you could slap some dummies in? Because there's dummies in the fucking like job trailer, right?
Yeah.
or just let us go to
I was searching them.
Look at that, but
or just
Doesn't
allow one other zone. Like just say like, okay, you could go to Middle like they did that last time.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, forgot about that. Yeah.
So
Yeah, we spent most of the time in Rooster Stead, didn't we?
yeah, so the dummies are really important.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they left it out this time, but
It's hard to get a feel of certain things. Like Dragoon was a little hard to do because of that. Like I had to use True North to get the positionals, like to guarantee them, so I could get the ride and thrust thing, and stuff like that. I was just like, wow, it would be really nice to have a dummy right now.
I will say, like, I did stop, like, after, because Tate and I had the very first interview, so we didn't get to, like, do anything with the demo. So we kind of had to just touch things as quickly as possible and just kind of ask questions that we had already for Shadowbringers and everything else. But, like, when we went back, I kind of noticed everybody was doing job stuff. And I was just like, man, I am not really that good at analyzing jobs. I talk to people who are good at doing this, but personally myself, I'm not. And I was like, do I want to spend what the time Larry spent making videos and analyzing these jobs properly? I was like, no. So I went the real lazy way out, and I was just like, you know what I'm going to do? Turn off all the music, not music, all the sounds, everything. Leave just the music on, and just walk around the zone and record that for 10
I
minutes.
watched all of those the other day too on my TV, and they're really good.
Oh,
I
thanks.
told you. We were like eating, and he was like, I'm not sure people like this. I'm like, dude, people are gonna love that.
I actually loved it. I didn't get to explore the zones at all during my demo because I was just testing out the jobs I wanted to test out. So
Mhm.
like seeing your videos of going through them was like, wow, these are really pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I felt. Like it's funny. Some of the team actually came behind me and was just watching me run around in the zone, and they're like, "Oh, cool, nice." It's like,
Yeah.
all right, that
You
works.
play to your strengths, man. You know, you carve out your niche.
Yeah, and so I felt like that worked out pretty well. I'm glad that again, we have a lot of stuff out there. There's lots of information on it now, and I feel like after we get the main information out, it's done. We got the main information out, and everyone's theory crafting, and you see how many people are like raging about healers or raging about other things.
Mm.
I don't know what to tell them because I can't tell them if it's going to be good or bad because I have no opinion until we actually see it in action. I mean, do you guys have opinions on the jobs right now that
To
like,
be
concerns?
fair,
I have opinions.
even the people who played healer at the event, we got one dungeon, so we can't say if it's good or bad either.
Yeah, you need the
It's rough.
content.
Yeah.
To
I
tell.
will say I did die as a tank, you know, in the content. So I don't know.
I ran with the first time I ran the dungeon before I ran with you guys was with Happy, Mary, and I think their name is Olivine from Reddit. Was that them? Yeah, but Happy was healing, Mary was tanking, and Mary tried to pull 2 mobs, and even with like constant heals from Happy, he still melted. So the damage is there for sure. And that's all I can really say about it.
Yeah. I mean, it
Like,
could get optimized, but
Yeah.
in like I did the dungeon twice, once as dancer and once as bard, and in both ones, like the first one was just with people I knew who were like attendees to the media tour. The only time we died was because we were fucking idiots on like the first boss with like the whole water thingy.
You got stun locked.
well, I love how they did that because they made the little circles and then they made lots of like explosions around the little circles. So you just weren't
I hate
expecting.
that boss. But in terms of damage, like on trash mobs, it felt fine. Like the second time I think we had Clem tanking actually.
Oh yeah,
and I think Clem died once, if I remember correctly. We had 2 people, like me and someone else, who like were there to cover stuff, and then 2 people from Square, just because people had already left, and I was like, okay, I need bard gameplay. Can someone please like sit on this PC and play? I didn't feel like they had much of an issue healing or tanking. And now with Clem, you could say, oh, he like knows the stuff already, obviously. Like it's not new to him. But with the guy who I knew who was there as a guest as well, and he was a gunbreaker, so he didn't know anything. And it was fine for him. So
I don't know, Tate. Maybe you just suck, dude. Like,
I mean, I went in on Shield Astro, so
okay.
That's already a disadvantage.
it was not great. Shield Astro got really cold in 5.0, I think.
But also just in general, like the shields are just useless because there's nothing that you're gonna die to, so the shields is just useless.
Yeah.
You know? But I don't know. I feel like the damage is a little bit higher in the dungeon, but it's kind of just
it's a dungeon, right? Like we really need to wait until raids come out to really make an assumption on these sorts of things. And while I think the feedback people are giving is important, because I think how the healers work and how they have worked is something really special to Final Fantasy XIV. I totally understand people being upset with the changes, but I'd still kind of like to see where they go with it before I like actually start raging, you know?
That's a really big mug, by the way. Holy fuck.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I think it's really hard to judge because we didn't really have 8-man content, you know? Like 4-man content, you can play it with everything and it's somehow going to work out. To actually judge how well something is something like underpowered, overpowered, whatever, even now when they said like potency formulation is kind of changed, I think it's really hard to judge. Like we can see the kit and we can be like, okay, this sounds like it's going to be shit or this sounds overpowered, but I think you have to like look at classes like on their own and then in a group content. And the latter one I think is a lot more important. And that's just impossible to judge right now. We can only make assumptions.
And
just for healing and tanking, the closest thing we had again was the A ranks, and they were basically one-shotting things that were not tanks in AF4. And like, yeah, that's pretty, you know, like early game level 80 gear, but I was pretty impressed. They were just like deleting healers. It was really funny.
So I'll also say when the expansion comes out, jobs are going to be broken in some way, and things are going to be overpowered in some way, and things are going to be off.
Quick.
Dancer, I'm kind of curious how that's going to work out.
They do a big update of changes before the raid comes out. So within the first month, like whatever we're finding in like the EX primals, like the first 2 EX primals or whatever there is, they make changes like really quick. Before
That's always the case for every expansion since ARR. Like the first month has been so wild in terms of adjustments and shit like that. So I wouldn't worry.
So yeah, I mean, it's going to be broken. Things are going to be wrong. Voice it out. Say, hey, it's broken after you know it's broken. And you've played it and you've gone in extreme and everything else. So they can make the balance changes going into raid and everything.
A lot of tooltips are just wrong, or they just function completely not how it says it does.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. Then the build again that we had was, I think, from April 30th. Was that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's about 2 months of development. Well,
after that.
Yeah. 2 months of development before it's released, basically. So they got a lot of changes to make, a lot of things that they're going to be doing. What was the other thing that I was going to talk about in particular to the media event itself? I don't know. I felt like after the period that I was there, at least for the NA event, since we stayed all the way until 6, I felt like I was done.
Yeah.
Like I probably could do more. Really?
I ran out of time.
I don't know. I felt like I could do more, but mentally I was just done. Like I just had to stop because.
Oh yeah, it's mentally taxing.
Yeah.
See, I was in the position where I was like, I can do more, but like, I know Larry's going to be busting his ass and panicking. So like, fuck it, I'll just let him do it. Fine, he's got this.
Oh, God. Dude, there was so many things where like after we said it earlier, but like after we finished and like the next day I thought of things like, for instance, I'm so angry about the Dreadwind Trance thing, and nobody got this either, that because Dreadwind Trance is available outside of combat and you don't need Aetherflow first, it's just a cooldown. If you push Dreadwind Trance, will it give you the 2 Dreadwind charges to have Bahamut ready if you're not in battle? And that's huge, because that means if it does do that, you would have to wait a minute pre-pull.
That sucks. It's like Dancer at the moment, right? With like the 45-second pre-pull, because you can use steps out of combat. Right. And as soon as that occurred to me, I went from being like, oh man, Dance is so cool. And then as soon as I realized I could do it out of combat, I was like, oh fuck no.
They need to change it so it doesn't work out of combat.
Yeah, I agree.
They need to, because otherwise our pre-pulls are going to be terrible.
I think that you should be able to use the step and the dances pre-pull, but not like finish the combo pre-pull.
Oh yeah.
So it'll be like a 3-second pre-pull. You do your dances and then go straight in.
Right, like the timer's like it's at 5. I'm like, okay, all right, time to start my day.
Yeah. But if you have to do this 45-second pre-pull bullshit, like they gotta fix that. If that's in a launch, that's gonna be terrible.
I mean, like, but I think, like, in terms of what Larry said with like the Dreadworm Trance, I have something similar like that on Dancer, because I don't think anyone tested if you can like partner 2 people for the buff.
Yeah,
I am so I also like the next day I was like, fuck, hopefully someone in NA is gonna check that. And no one did. And I'm so like, it makes sense to have that happen with like the cooldowns, but with like the skill description and with knowing how Final Fantasy usually works, it doesn't make sense. So I'm like, please someone test it, and no one did. I'm like, no.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like you were like, all right, maybe I should go tell NA stuff, because you can't really do that.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't. So I
don't know. I will say though, like us going into completely new jobs, like Gunbreaker and Dancer, especially Dancer, and you're like, how the fuck does this work? And you're like, how much time can I spend and commit to what this job does before I have no time left, right? You got other stuff you want to focus on. There's other priorities you have. And so, you don't think about everything. And Dancer was definitely one of those that it kind of took us a bit. I don't know.
It's a bit overwhelming at first day. Like the first, good 10 minutes with Dancer, I was like, what the fuck is happening?
I actually had to have help. Like Aya came over and I was like, my brain is melting. What do I do?
That's good.
It was, I didn't understand anything about the dancing stuff. I got footage of it. I made some stuff work, then buttons lit up, and I was like, I'm making buttons light up. I can press it now. I did something right.
I think Dancer is going to end up being a job similar to Red Mage in the way where, like, it's really easy to do a decent amount of DPS on, but like if you were trying to explain it, it's really complicated to explain and difficult to make it sound really simple. But when you're playing it, it actually is simple.
I think
it's very intuitive.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it'll also have a decent skill ceiling with micromanaging procs and stuff. It looks really fun.
Because you're absolutely right that, like, at its basics, Dancer is literally going to be like, you press a button and then you see something light up and you're like, ooh,
now you can push that lit up button.
Ooh,
right?
piece of candy.
Yeah.
Ooh, piece of candy.
But do you push it if you have more things that light up?
Exactly.
That's
As
the thing,
long as
like
you're not overcapping on your feathers.
potencies
And
and
getting
shit.
rid of your dance threes and, all that.
But that's
I
where the
wish
skill
you had
ceiling
more.
comes in.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I just wished it had more OGCDs, like one OGCD at least that doesn't need a feather.
Yeah.
Imagine you have that RNG and you don't get a fucking feather and you're like,
Yeah, you got your little dash.
but
It doesn't do any damage, I don't think, but it's fun.
Oh yeah, you twirl around and
Yeah, it's cool.
I was thinking about that too. I was like, the job feels pretty interactive. You have to make decisions and everything else, and I feel like that's something I want to see on a lot of jobs, to be honest with you. I don't want it to be a simple 1, 2, 3 rotation, right? I want to be able to, like, I don't know what it feels like, right? I feel like Gunbreaker changed. I don't know. I didn't like spend a lot of time with it.
Not really.
No.
Gunbreaker feels unique.
Feels different.
It feels different, but you don't have like decisions to make. You're just like, oh, this cooldown's up. Now I can do a sweet little melee thing.
Right.
Okay.
We're like, well, I think there was like a really big substantial change with tanks because of the enmity. Like they got rid of the enmity combos. It freed up spots to now, we can add more things to the DPS kit. So I think a lot of the tanks DPS rotations got more interesting. There's not so much of the decision making, but it's definitely more interesting than it was. And I think because they were able to get rid of the enmity combo, that's why it's like that. So I like that decision a lot.
And Paladin going from one AoE move to like multiple AoE moves and having a rotation with it as well. It's just like
Paladin AoE is amazing.
Yeah,
it's so fun. Why are they allowed to have a 800 potency, no damage fall off AoE?
Oh my god!
Why are you allowed to have that, Frosty?
Because I'm better. I don't know.
Come on.
It was kind of cool because when I was watching the footage and everything without the HUD and stuff and seeing my dude just like do his little spin and jump up in the air and go slash, and it was just that over and over and over again. I was like, okay, I can get used to it. And I feel like almost every single tank has some sort of AoE situation now to where it's a little bit less boring with AoE.
I think that's every class now.
I mean, didn't they like on nearly every DPS and tank, didn't they add like at 72 or something? Didn't like all of them get an AoE? At least it felt like that. Like a lot of them got an AoE there.
Yeah.
And Summoner's AoE is disgusting. Like in a dungeon, you're gonna have a Bahamut or a Phoenix for every single pull.
Oh man.
Damn.
So I'm really curious why they made that decision to bolster AoE as much as they did. Because I mean, for dungeons, great, wonderful, but does that mean that was useless in raids unless if they add
padding FF flags?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it, right? Is that like it doesn't like AoE? Well, was there any fights in Stormblood where like AoE burst was really important in raid? I don't think so.
But I'm saying like a lot of my favorite raids had AoE, like turn 12. One of my favorites, and that
totally.
Like the ad phase was amazing. Yeah, and I would like more of that kind of thing.
It would be nice.
That's what I'm curious then. Like, it will the fights be like, all right, this is an AoE section, and you just have to prioritize here, and this is where you start to see the strength. Because if they don't, all these new abilities and skills we're getting feel stupid, right? They feel kind of useless, except for when you do a dungeon run once a day if you do your extra, right? So we'll see. We'll see.
Like a lot of moves have a
That's why we
single
have
target or AoE version.
See,
Go ahead.
I'd kind of thought of it the other way when I first saw it.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Sorry, I interrupted Larry.
No, it was funny because like
Sorry,
Jess
dude.
started talking,
Yeah,
then Larry
I
said
wanna
go
go
ahead to
ahead.
Jess, and then Ethys
Yeah.
started
I
talking.
didn't hear that.
No, go ahead.
All right, Jess, you go, and then Ethys, you go, then Larry, you go. How
Oh
about
no,
that?
I finished. I wanted Jess to go.
Okay, good. There we
Whatever.
go.
Go.
Go, Jess, you're on the spot.
I just wanted to say something stupid. You were like, the like expert dungeon. Hey, now people farm the fucking Moogle event, right? So
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
that's why we have AoE now.
For events,
Oh,
for like
no.
once a year
Mog
events.
Mog. Oh,
Do MSQ. Yeah, no, thank you.
No.
oh no.
All right, Ethys, your point now.
I was going to say that with the inclusion of basically like uncapped AoE for melee DPS in particular, just like general sort of AoE skills for everyone, I was kind of thinking that maybe at first it would be because there are so few AoE phases in raids these days that it's only really for dungeons, and they're like, oh fuck, it's just for dungeons, like let them go crazy, let them do as much AoE as they want, it doesn't matter, we don't have to worry about balancing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But now that Larry mentions it, I think it would be really cool. And now that like the melee DPS AoE is going to be a little bit more competitive with like the magic DPS, maybe it would be interesting to see more like AoE phases like from ARR make a return, because they were fun. Like turn 4. Maybe not a great fight, but like it was so much fun to prog on.
I thought turn 4 was interesting at least.
Yeah.
Not A2.
No, not so much.
And what was it? Was it T11? Is that right?
Oh,
Was it? Or was it T12? T12 with the Phoenix? I can't remember. Yeah. Basically, you
With
had
the
all the
Benus.
Benus and everything, and you just had to balance that out.
Yeah.
So
That was a good one as well.
Yeah, and it wasn't just like hero adds AoE them. It was an interesting mechanic to them. Like you had to kill them in a certain order and then re-kill them and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
So more of that.
we'll see. I mean, all we know about Raid right now is there's a hammer person in it. Right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, because of this, all the skills we got, you can kind of start to maybe discern a little bit of like what we might see in raids, and the AoE is one of them.
Applying logic,
Right.
but I mean, it's not always how we logically think he'll turn out. Right.
That's true.
I mean, if it works with logic, you can also be sure that like at some point you have to disengage, because like every tank has that engage now. Now that might have been
like going from charging.
Yeah, like the charge. Yeah. That might be fan service because people just complained about Paladin for like years. But who knows? Maybe there's something nice going on finally.
Most adjustments that are made are like fan service first and like mechanical justification second.
Yeah.
Bunnies.
It would be interesting if like that was a thing where you did have to move really quickly to somewhere, just a charge, but I don't know with the latency and everything else that we kind of get to expect with Final Fantasy 14. It feels like it would be a little clunky if they did that.
I mean, can you talk latency and then we have machinist in the way it is now? I mean, I don't the way it's going to be.
I feel like a lot of it is just like with machinists in particular, a lot of the skills are worded in such a way of like how Imperial Arrow is worded, where it's a weapon skill, but it says this shares a different weak cast time than everything else. And that's exactly how Imperial Arrow works, and Imperial Arrow is OGCD. So I feel like a lot of those skills are supposed to be OGCD, but in the build that we played,
I hope so.
yeah, like they weren't, but the way they're worded, it should be.
A lot of them feel really awkward to use, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like thematically, I really, really like Machinist. Just like how it looks now and just the redesign, I like it a lot. But again, just to like play it, it doesn't feel good because of those like the tooltips being weird, or like maybe just how it works now is weird.
It's kind of funny because people are still excited to play Machinist because he gets a robot.
Yeah.
Right? So,
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. A robot that just charges in and starts punching stuff, right? Which is something I think a lot of machinists were looking forward to, because when I played Machinist, I was like, robots, great, this is exactly why I want to play it. And then it's kind of just like, throw it out there and forget about it, and it was just not, I don't know, it wasn't that fun.
I still like it, but I'm easy to please, so whatever.
Yeah. I know personally. Anyway,
Oh.
so anyways, go the pets and how they're handling it has been a pretty big topic as well. A lot of people are kind of concerned, oh, pet bar's gone away, but it's still there, right? You can still move it. You can still tell it to go places, dismiss it and everything else.
You can place them.
Yeah. They just made it to where maybe it'll be a little bit less clunky because it's player actions instead of pet actions.
Oh my god, they're so good. They're so responsive.
Yeah.
Holy
Playing
shit.
Scholar, I was very happy about it.
Mm-hmm. So I think that was a huge move because I can't think of any other way to fix it besides just completely reworking the whole system, right? And it might be impossible at this point.
It feels almost like a rework.
Well,
like the way they behave, but not fully rework. I know what you mean, but
yeah. With how like the back end works,
they could do. Yeah.
Anyways, I'm trying to think of the other stuff with the event because I feel like we're getting a lot into the gameplay, which I do want to get into. But I want to make sure we don't miss anything interesting about the event. Was there anything that stood out to you guys when you went to this event that you're like, hey, well, I guess there is one thing. The presentation they did was pretty much a shrinked version of what they did for the live letter, right?
Yeah.
They just they didn't take the time to explain things like they did for the live letter.
I think that was fine. I mean, most likely that was because we were able to play, so we could test everything out ourselves. I personally, I think I would have been a bit annoyed if it was as long as the live letter. And then we got to play because a lot of the things, now this is talking from someone who plays the game actively. I don't know if journalists who don't play the game might have liked it better if it was like the live letter. But
well, they left early, so I mean, maybe they would have.
Maybe.
Yeah, but like as someone who plays the game actively, I mean, everything that got explained, it does make sense to me. I know the game, so just let me play,
Right.
Like, I was like waiting, okay, when is it over? When can I play? When can I play?
Because, I mean, that is a good point because that presentation had to be given to media and have something, even if they don't understand the game, points they could talk about within their articles, right? I feel like that was done pretty well.
Yeah.
I remember when they showed the job action trailer after that, because we were going crazy. As soon as they got right back on, the energy in the room was just amazing. So they got right back on and they were like, wow, your guys' reaction is great.
Yeah.
We're just like, yeah.
Did you guys in the EU side, was there a lot of cheering or anything else when things were happening?
No. But in the job action trailer, it at least on Wednesday when I first saw it, it was just complete silence of people making notes and me just like right at the back, just going, whoa, whoa, holy shit! And then seeing the building, just being like looking around, like wanting to share that energy with someone, and all these journalists are just like,
oh, that's so upsetting.
Yeah, it was like for like the Germans, it was similar. Like as I said, I was there with like some people I knew who also actively play, and it was that group of people, like 3 people, who were like all excited and shit. And then like a journalist friend of ours was like, "Oh my god, their reactions are good!" So he like took out his phone to record us.
Oh, I saw
put
that.
it online.
I saw that.
Yeah, and then all the people went, "Oh, this is fake!" And I was like, just wait until you see it and then call us fake again.
Yeah.
And I know what part that ended up being too after we watched it. I was like, that's what they saw.
Which part was it?
Like it started like when they showed the Phoenix and then it went over to Dark Knight. And he missed the best part. Like when Frey comes out, we were just losing it. We were just like, holy shit, no way.
It felt really cool. Yeah. Seeing like the ninja shadows and seeing the Fae and seeing the paladin charge and his super sword pop out of the ground, right?
I loved how you guys reacted like the most on the paladin charge.
Yeah, that was my favorite. Like as soon as
I just burst out laughing.
People were clapping.
Screaming. Yeah.
I was like throwing out of my chair laughing when I saw that.
Really?
Like,
what the hell?
Yeah.
It was great.
You've already got a charge. It's called Sprint. Doesn't cost anything.
Come on.
Hey, I can now charge twice. Like I can charge in, then charge again. Right? It feels good, right?
So there was one thing that we saw in our presentation that was very conspicuously missing from the live letter, and that was the world map of Novarant. And I was not allowed to take a photo of it. It wasn't in game in the build, but there was one slide where it was very briefly shown the world map of Novarant with everything marked, and I was freaking out, and I was so disappointed that I didn't get a picture of it. And does Larry have a picture of it?
Same thing, I think.
Did you take your phone out?
Yeah.
I don't actually remember it.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't think we saw that.
They probably took it up.
It was there. It was one of the slides. We were told we weren't allowed to take photos of it.
Was it on both days, on Wednesday and Friday? Like, did you check?
Yeah, I saw it on Wednesday and Friday. Yeah,
because I don't remember that either. From
it was so brief. It was like a transition slide. It was like it appeared and then text like appeared over it. It was like the background for one of the slides. And I was freaking out because it was covered in this language that we'd never seen before, with all these place names, and like it was the same shape as ENJOYYYY, but like not quite the same.
Oh, that's cool.
Like the brand was over here with Yulmore on it. And I was like, whoa!
Right, you're like really big on lore, right? So that must have been like.
Yeah, cool. I am pretty big on lore. Yeah,
I think you talk about it every once in a while.
I kind of dabble in it.
You looked at one of the books before.
Yeah, I read a book on the lore once. It was pretty cool.
Don't meme on me.
But yeah, no, like that presentation, I think they really liked. We probably had the best reaction out of all the different media events and everything else.
Well, it's because we had an entire room full of people who play the game, you know?
Yeah.
Like our game is only people who play.
Yeah.
It made me wonder in EU if like any of the journalists even play, because I would think even if you're there for like writing for an outlet and you play the game, you would still get excited, right?
There's a few.
I had the same thing that Effie said. Like people were just sitting there, like some people were writing stuff down, others were just watching, but they were dead silent.
That had to be pretty sad.
I'm stuck between two worlds. I was screaming and writing at the same time. I was like, I gotta write a thing, but I'm also.
Oh yeah, when we were doing the interview with Yoshida, I was like, I'm just gonna type as best as I can when he's talking, and Tate had the audio and everything going just as a backup. I was like, if something messes up, I need at least the points, right? And so like he's answering me, and I'm like trying to react at the same time, but I'm like, no, I'm just gonna look at the screen and just type. It was pretty cool. It was also interesting because you know what? I'm going to say this. I'm pretty sure Yoshida understands most of what we're saying when we ask him questions.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Dude, he was smiling so much when I was talking about Summoner, because I like at one point I just had to like say like how much I really like the Summoner changes, and he just like he just smiled and he was just like thanks. I was just like, oh.
So Yoshida's got this thing where he basically understands English perfectly. He doesn't speak it very confidently, but like he knows what he's saying.
Right.
But the strategy of having a translator in the room to buy him an extra like couple of minutes to think before responding to a question, it just helps so much in that setting. Like imagine if every time you were interviewed or every time you had to answer a question, you just got like a solid 2 minutes to think about it without it being awkward or without having to like, you know, make some excuse. And like it works really well for him. And I think the questions end up being like a lot more detailed and a lot better as a result, right?
Yeah. I mean, and the reason why you can tell that is because of how he reacts when you say it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he'll start laughing when you're like saying it if there's something that kind of makes him laugh or something else. I mean, and it's also good security to make sure that he knows he understands what was said because it's being translated into Japanese afterwards. Like, there's no question that he understands it. So that was the other part of the media event that I kind of stood out to me, is having him kind of laugh when I was asking a couple of questions.
About PvP?
No, he didn't laugh at all about PvP.
He went deleting it. You're out of a job.
He was pretty straightforward and serious with the PvP one. He laughed at the because I told him, I was like, every single day people nag me and they ask me, where's the 4-player difficult dungeons at? And he's like, I know exactly what this fucking question is.
Yeah.
And he gave a little bit of laugh to that one. The other one, what was it?
I don't get why they don't just do that, by the way.
That they want to focus more on stuff like Baldesian Arsenal
and Ultimate and like other stuff, because they have these conversations and they're like, hey, we could either make difficult 4-man a difficult 4-man fight and be like serious about it, or we could make an Ultimate fight. Which one do you want to do? And they usually want to make an Ultimate fight. But
then we still only have 2 Ultimates. Like I think if we had a third one, because the game is really dead right now. And I think that's exactly the type of content that is missing. Like, even if you don't participate in it, like, it was going so well on Twitch. Like, I know so many people who are like, okay, I'm not good enough, but I'm watching this. So I really hope they see that there's no content right now, and they change that for 5.5.
You guys, I don't know if you can hear me, but it died for a second there while you were talking, Jess. I don't know if like the internet was like, oh, we don't care what Jess has to say, so we're gonna crash.
My internet died, or the stream?
No, mine.
Oh,
the stream. It should be back up and now. Like I don't know what Cox is doing, or like the internet company here.
Cox.
Yeah, they're Cox. You're right.
That's it.
But they mess up all the time. I'm going to tell everybody to refresh because it looks like it balanced out. It's always upload, right? Because I can hear everything you're saying perfectly fine. It's just me that kind of cuts out, and the stream that cuts out for a second there.
Unlucky.
Yeah. If you want to say what you said again, Jess, that's fine. So everybody can hear you. Yeah.
What did I say? Oh yeah, that like you say, they are like, oh, we want to like, we can either do like an Ultimate or like engaging 4-man content, but then we still don't get like that third Ultimate that's really missing right now, because like it went so well on Twitch. Like, I don't think Final Fantasy ever had that high view numbers. Like, I wasn't here for like the launch of Stormblood or Heavensward, so I'm not sure how the view numbers were then, but a lot of people who don't do Ultimate still watch it, you know, kind of like on WoW when they do like World Prog or something and they stream it.
Right.
And like people who are decent at the game, I'm gonna make a bold statement here, don't hate me please.
Sure.
They have like done Savage, including their gear, within like 2 months or something max, I would say.
Yeah.
And when was the last tier released? Was it like October or something? I think October, November.
Yeah.
Let's just say round about half a year ago, people were done with the gear. And now we're sitting here for half a year doing nothing.
You could do PvP. I'm just,
I did. That's why I started with PvP, because I had nothing to do.
Oh.
I mean, if people are playing the game and are only doing one kind of content, I think like that's crazy.
I mean,
yeah, but the people who would be like interested in Ultimate, most of them have done the other content, have maxed out their classes, their crafters, whatever. So that's for like that type of people who play the game.
0.001%. I can tell you for sure, most of the people who do World Race and everyone else, they don't have everything maxed out. They just care about raid really quick.
Yeah.
I don't know. The thing that he brought up too about the not third Ultimate was like, if we did a third Ultimate, we wouldn't have been able to do like the Valdesian Arsenal thing, and we wouldn't have been able to be like working on Shadowbringer so much right now. I'm like, I'm glad that we have Valdesian Arsenal. I think it was really a cool addition to the game.
It was a good. It was one of those things that you want them to do because they can do it and see how it works and develop upon that. And it was a good concept and idea of large scale raids. And I want to see kind of where that goes in the future too. Yeah.
I'd love to see it not locked behind, 2 years worth of Eureka content though.
Yeah, like maybe 2 of them, like half, like 1 year in, and then the other one at the end of the expansion or whatever, like we got here.
Yeah, like time it more. You know, like I think did we get anything interesting in 4.5? Anything?
Well,
I can't recall right now.
The story.
Maybe
we got the story.
Good. Oh, wait.
That's the lasting content, though.
I think the last Eureka part was in patch 4.4 something, wasn't it?
No, I'm pretty sure Arsenal was 4.5, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was 4.5. It was like 2 weeks after the 4.5.
How long has 4.5 been around now?
A while.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
there's
A
the
few
issue.
months. Yeah, it's been a bit. And we knew this was coming. We knew this was going to be a big dead time. But yeah.
There's always
Well, what
content
if
out now.
what if they did? What if they had to do 2 ultimates? What if they rearranged how they spaced the content out and gave us like a Baldician arsenal in the middle, and then an ultimate at the beginning and an ultimate at the end, so that like we're at the end, right? Like, what if we had to have 2 ultimates, we'd have one of them at the end where nothing else is going on. That might be like pacing a little bit better at the very least.
Maybe they will do that because, like, I mean, obviously, Stormblood was the first time they did something like Baldician Arsenal and something like Ultimate. So maybe now they see, okay, because I think like with Eureka and everything, it was a new thing they added. So they had to test out, like, okay, how much time do we need developing it? They had to create the whole system, and now that the system is in place, I think development will be a lot faster for like content that is like similar to it.
Yeah.
So maybe they also, because of that, will have more time to possibly add a third ultimate. Who knows?
We'll see. It's crazy because I mean, if you add ultimate, that makes sense, right? Because it's like, hey, this is the content. People can work on this for like months and months before the next expansion comes out. So, yeah, at the end of the expansion, it sounds good. But what if you're a player that doesn't do ultimate, which there's a lot of them? What do you have?
The majority, in fact.
Yeah. So what do you have left? And so having Eureka content and Baldician Arsenal, a lot of people could, well, actually, to be honest with you, a lot of people can do it, but I think the road map to getting to what that content was too long, and they should probably,
that was the problem.
Yeah.
If they cut that out, then it would have been really good in expansion content, but okay. Any other thoughts on like the media tour, things that you guys noticed that you wanted to talk about?
Just like plan wise, like I knew like I wanted to get a video on each job, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna have 7 hours, but actually it's 6 because there's the hour for the
Interview. Yeah.
The interview and eating. Yeah, so it's actually 6. So I was like, okay, so how much time do I have per job? So I'm like, okay, I got like 20-25 minutes per job, whatever it is. So I started like obviously on the jobs that I knew first. So the first one I went to is Summoner. That was a mistake.
You got stuck.
That took a really long time. It was much more different than I thought. And then I was like, okay, Black Mage, Red Mage, that went like really quick because they're like the same. And then I was doing all the other ones, and I ended up saving Gunbreaker and Dancer for last because I knew that they would take me the longest to learn. And I think that was a good decision because they did take me a while.
Yeah.
It was just like planning how to go about like the order of how to record the jobs and the order of how to learn them and all these things in order to like be really efficient with your time there was like really interesting and stressful.
Yeah.
Being there.
And I will say next time it's going to be like 19 jobs, maybe 20, who knows, but it's going to be like 19 jobs. Hopefully a lot of development time that they put into creating new races, we won't have to worry about that anymore, right? We're done. Yeah.
Right.
Any more new ones out there.
win.
We won't get into that. A little bit sensitive.
Let's not get into that.
Yeah. But no, when the one huge thing that I kind of learned with a lot of these responses that he gave me is that they are limited on development time, right? They only can do so much, and so they have to allot it. And if they give someone more time on like job design or more time on something else, it's just that much better. They just make it that much better. It's not like, hey, I develop a job, I make it in this time, and it's perfect, right? You make it to what you can within that development time. I feel like, at least, that's how they design a lot of stuff. For example, I learned Chuckable Racing doesn't have a developer anymore. There's no one assigned to develop it.
Where did he go to? What was it again?
He went to rating.
To the raids,
Yeah.
The rating now. Okay.
So that's why we have alpha, right?
Yeah.
Oh god.
So
That's why.
It's a hard pill to swallow, though, isn't it? As plays the idea that, like, oh, why don't they do more of this content? And they're like, well, then we'd have to do less of this content.
It just kind of goes to show like how spread thin they actually are.
Yeah,
like we can't know for sure, but like, good lord, you know.
Yeah,
and like he said, like there were only 3 people in the world that could do,
like not just within, yeah,
not just in their team. in the world. He's like, I only know of 3 people that can make Ultimate.
Well, because you have to also talk about the other parts of it, like the program they use to make the game.
Yeah, they have to learn all this stuff.
They have to know that. They have to know Final Fantasy 14. They have to be experienced with what mechanics should be there and what they can introduce and what they can do with that program to make it interesting.
Exactly.
And so, like, you have to have people who are just really good at pleasing people who play Final Fantasy 14. 3
The
people.
requirement is
right?
really high.
Yeah. So hopefully that advances, right? But I heard a grunt from Ethys, I think. I don't know if I really did or not, but it was like, and I was like, that has to be Ethys.
No, that was me because
okay.
kind of. Sorry.
I was about to say, that was probably me. I do grunt a lot. I remember that one.
Sorry.
Yeah, Ethys more does stuff like.
Okay. Fair. So it's interesting to see, and I feel like with how much Final Fantasy 14 expands with new content all the time, we're going to see a lot of content that just kind of goes off to the side and nothing really happens to it. And that's going to be Chocobo Racing, unless if they pull the guy off of raiding, developing Raid, or they put a new person out there to develop it, and that might be a while if it happens. So, sorry guys who do Chocobo Racing, man.
They'll do that.
People, I think there is a handful of people who like got to the top tier with Chocobo Racing, and there's just nothing else to do, and so they just stopped, right?
I mean, it's a challenge log, so
yeah, you get a MGP for it. So
well,
I've done it very little.
It's fun, though, man. It's kind of fun. It's like Broken Mario Kart, right?
I've never done it, and I played since closed beta.
So imagine how many more ultimates we could have if we just like dissolved the PvP team.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
You motherfucker. You know what? Never gonna happen. Right? Because we got good people representing PvP out there promoting it in a way that makes it work. So
Interesting.
Shut up, you shill.
I will say, when I did the interview with PvP, I sent that email interview out. They had someone who worked a lot with the community team, one of the managers there, and then they had a battle designer answer questions. And so there isn't. I don't know for sure, but I don't believe there is a PvP team. There's developers who work on it, and they also work on other things, but there's not like a team of people who are dedicated to only making PvP happen.
I think that's the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. But I mean, we get battle system designers working on PvP content, and they're interested in it, and they're more excited about it because of the FRC. So anyways, let's talk about something else here. So I do want to say, working with the community and everything else, I mean, a big part of going to this event is you have kind of a different experience with certain people in the community, right? How often were you guys harassed to give information?
I guess you want to go ahead.
Yeah. Ethys?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I wasn't harassed, but I would like, people were pretty good about it, but I was like, like when we were talking about stuff, like people would just ask stuff, and I'm just like, I can't answer that. Like, but people wouldn't harass.
Okay.
I didn't stream for the whole week when we got home. I just I refused to because I have a big mouth. I can't keep quiet. So I was like, I'm not going live or anything like that. But like, as far as like people like sending me messages or anything, like there were a few jokes obviously between friends, but otherwise no one was invasive at all.
Mm-hmm.
I got so many message requests from people saying like, hey, I know you can't break the NDA, but like, I just really want to know this one little thing. And like,
funny.
I've been following you for years, and I watched all your videos, and I'm subscribed. So you think maybe you could just like, I just have this rumor. I just want to know if it's true or not.
Yeah.
I got a lot of those, like, what do you think of the rumor or the leak that this is this? And I just didn't.
I got a lot of that as well.
Which one was your favorite job? Like, even that we can't say.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like, for me, some people ask, mainly people who do endgame, Most of them were also understanding and were like, yeah, I figured I'd ask, but I understand. There were like 2 people in particular who were like complaining, oh, why can't you tell me? What the fuck?
I thought we were friends.
Wow.
Stuff like that. But like in terms of like my community, I think no one asked. Now, most of them are casual. I had some people who were like, yeah, like I don't even want to know. I'm not even like looking at the leaks. I just want to be surprised on the live letter and have like that like first reaction, like that like excitement as well. But yeah, there were 2 people who were dicks about it, and one of them I'm not talking to as frequently anymore because I just thought like that reaction is so bullshit. Like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, no, that happens.
I mean, honestly, I wanted to like my ideal setup for that is I have a few people that I know who could help me make content, and it would be so great if I could be like, hey man, I have this stuff, can you help me make this content? But I still can't. So it's like,
like Eva didn't even want to know. Like when I got back, like she didn't want to know because she wanted to be surprised at the job action trailer. But then after that, when I'm editing the videos, obviously she's like right here. So and she helped me with the tooltip. She made like the tooltip image. Like I wanted to have images of like all the tooltips on the one slide. So she helped me with that because I would not have had time to do that. In addition to the editing.
I will say my wife did not give a fuck. She was like, I really just want to go into it and see it for the first time myself, right? I really don't care. I was like, okay, that's good for me, I guess. But I would say in the end, especially, you guys joked about it a good bit with the PvP stuff, but there's nothing with PvP at the event. Nothing, right? It was grayed out. There is no way I could get any information on anything with it. But that was one of the things that people were maybe expecting me to do. Just go there and get it, because no one else would do it.
That's your job.
Right, it's my job. It's what I'm supposed to do. And so when I go there and I find out, oh, I don't have access to any of this. I don't have anything that I could provide with this. And then I have to go for a week. Like people are like, oh man, I'm so excited to see the information. I'm so excited to see it. Oh, it's gonna be so cool. I'm waiting for those videos to come out. I know you can't talk about it. It's okay. And I'm like,
yeah, me too.
Oh, God, that sucked so much, man.
That suck.
And and there are certain things that there's questions and ideas and things that I want to say, and they're like, oh, I hope you got some really good answers out of Yoshida. I'm waiting for it. And I mean, sometimes you don't get good answers, right? And it is how it is. I don't know. I just felt really bad in the end after that week of just not being able to say shit. And then the PvP thing was the biggest thing, because I was like, I'm going to disappoint so many people on this day.
Dude, PvP community is used to being disappointed. Don't worry about
it. Oh, jeez.
There's a word for that.
Yeah? What's that, Larry?
It starts with a C and with the uck.
Oh.
PvP players.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so yeah, and the other thing was the leaks, right? And so these leaks come out, and obviously some of them had relevance to things that we've seen. And we can't talk about it when that whole thing's going on, and it makes it kind of tricky because you have to kind of watch what you say when you're talking about it. You're like, you can't be like, oh, it sucks that the leaks are out there, because then you're like, oh, well, I've just confirmed that leaks are real.
Confirming them.
Yeah. So I think that whole thing was shitty. I hate the fact that what are you guys saying in chat? Fucking hate. Anyways. It sucks that we had to go through that, and we have no way of knowing who did that, and people who do leak stuff, they're kind of pieces of shit. I mean, you don't get anything out of it, right? It's just like completely anonymous, and it's just like, I get to fucking just leak all this stuff out and ruin shit.
Yeah, that's been like the last 12 months, really, hasn't it?
Yeah.
There's something really important about it, is that Square Enix, they have like all their marketing team, and like this is like really important, and a lot of money goes into how they present information. So if you're leaking that information before they are scheduled to do it, and in such a way that it's not in the way that they were going to be presenting it, it completely ruins that whole marketing timeline and like how they're supposed to present it to everybody. Right. And that ruins it. And there's like so much money that goes into doing that.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that's just super shitty. And I can't even imagine, if I would have to guess, it's not someone that is in the community and cares. It would be someone who's just like, I don't really give a fuck. I'm not part of that community. It doesn't matter to me if I do it.
Probably.
That's the only thing I can rationalize with. But then again, I don't know for sure. Like, there's no way to tell.
I don't know. A lot of, I don't want to give like too much attention to leaks, but a lot of them are really organized. So it almost seems like they were made by somebody who knows the game. Like they knew what to leak.
The first ones that came out, the very first ones that came out were like super unorganized. So we were probably like, okay, this is probably just like somebody who doesn't know how to play the game, because like they're explaining things that, and it doesn't make sense. Like the leaks are right, but what they're saying is wrong because they probably don't play the game. But then later there were more leaks, and that one was like really organized. So we were just like, this is even more fishy now.
But yeah, if you're going to it, you sign an NDA, just follow it. I mean, it only hurts you to not follow it. It doesn't give you any kind of benefit to go ahead and leak that stuff out. But I guess that's all we really need to say. We don't really have to go too deep into it.
I guess just one other thing about that is like I saw a lot of people like suggesting how they would have just wanted like no NDA like that and just have Square release all the information. And it's like, okay, so even if Square did release all of this information themselves,
we wouldn't see it for another month.
They would have taken much longer than we did, and it wouldn't have been as thorough either. Like they wouldn't give every single tooltip. They would never do that.
Yeah. So I guess we could talk about us going to it and where there's some sort of benefit to it, right? Because all of us understand the game pretty well, and we know what to grab, and we know how to get this information properly. And if Square Enix did it, like you said, they're not going to sit there and take a snapshot of every single skill and go through all that detail and everything else. It really gives us a chance to go ahead and present information we know the community wants to get. And it's not like we're idiots. We know exactly what most people in the community would want. We spend hours every single day playing the game and talking to people. And so I think it's extremely important to get that side of the community involved, because it just helps everybody in the end. But Ethys, you have a weird face on. I don't know what that is, but
I see chat is saying how they did with the job guide stuff for Stormblood, and yes, but that was right before it came out.
Right.
So again,
that's just back on the fact that we wouldn't have seen it for a long time.
Right. So again, this is like, it's still way faster than what Square would release. So
So and they want to entertain the current players, and that's kind of what a lot of people who go out and do that with influencer stuff is. They're entertaining information about people who know what's going on with the game. The media promotes the game for new players.
Right.
And I think it works out pretty well. I don't know if there's any other way they could release the information better than how they're doing it right now.
No, you give it to people that are experts at releasing information and generating hype and have built a career around doing that. Like, why would you not engage that?
Right.
It costs you very, very little.
Yeah, very little, because it's kind of our job, our position in the community to like do that.
And you send a lot of information a lot further and a lot faster than you would through official channels.
Yeah, it's a wonderful, mutual, beneficial relationship. So,
just fostering the community too. So.
All right. While my internet struggles here for a second, I don't know if you guys can hear me at all.
Oh my.
But you're choppy.
Okay, I might be back now. I should be back. Anyways, what other things? Do you guys have anything else on the media event itself? Because I feel like I just keep going in there and there's thoughts in my head. I keep throwing them out there. If there's something that you guys want to say, I'd rather you guys say something first on it.
I just think it's cool that like we got to visit the Crystarium IRL, and you guys got to visit Yulmore IRL.
Yeah,
and I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I thought for a second that like maybe NA also had like a different city to visit then. But yeah, apparently it was the same one. But that would have been really interesting because then you would have had like that type of different content as well.
Mhm.
Oh,
Like
if we
could
had
have seen more stuff. I think that would
I
have
see
been
what
really
you mean.
cool.
Yeah.
that would have been clever.
Yeah.
But maybe they didn't want to. That they already did 3 zones, right? So they don't want.
Yeah. Then again, we also don't know like what type of city. Ulmore? I don't know how you
Right.
pronounce it. Like what's
It's
it gonna
purple, I guess. I don't know. I was in a very purple room. Yeah.
But no, I meant like in terms of like how it fits into the story. Maybe like it's something for later on that's like too spoilery or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
Nah. And we didn't really. It's funny. Also, I'll note this. We get a lot of questions. Like there's one in Bell, and I'm not trying to pick on you because you know the question or anything else, but we don't know a lot of stuff. Like we don't know about new materia. We don't know about new haircuts. Really, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that they're asking. Very detailed questions about. Like we have this whole crazy demo kit that we've been spending months on, and we just gone through every little bit of it. We only had a handful of hours to get what data we thought we could get. So I don't know. If you go through that AMA, I'll actually go through some of those questions real quick. Because it made me laugh a little bit because I was like, there's no way any of us could answer any of this.
But the thing is, like, out of all the footage from everybody, I think that's literally everything. Like, I don't think anybody missed anything besides gameplay things like the Dreadworm thing or like the dancer thing.
Well, the other thing is I didn't test if there was any new Bard songs or anything.
Performance actions.
Yeah.
Oh, pets. That's true. Pets were called performance actions.
Really?
Wait, really?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Actions. We're called performance actions.
Oh dear. Well, I mean,
also Ruin 4 for the Ruin buff didn't have a buff icon. It was just blue. It didn't have a picture. Stuff like that.
I don't know. There's a lot of questions in here actually to go through.
I read some of that.
Yeah, but it's just very difficult. Like they're asking about like the future of certain things in the game, and that just wasn't part of the demo. We were in a very closed test demo environment, right? Like if you tried to leave the zone, you couldn't.
Yeah.
And
I tried.
Yeah, I did too. There's also an island I tried to go to, but I was blocked off. I don't know if you remember that. Was it Ilmeg or something like that?
Yeah. That's a very suspicious, like Alexander-looking deal going on there. Was an island. There's a really suspiciously shaped island that looks like it's a placeholder for something kind of like Alexander was before he started emerging from the lake.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
you can get close to it, but you can't get to it.
As in, like,
is that in your video, Frosty?
I don't remember if I put it in the video. I do have recordings of me trying to swim to it and go in various different directions to try to get to it. Yeah, and,
I don't know about that. I have to look it up.
It was funny because I and everyone else was watching. It's like, is there a way to break it? Is he gonna break it? Just like kind of get out of the zone and go over there.
What do out of bounds glitches?
Yeah, out of bounds or something will happen. I tried. Maybe it was an Ilmeg, I think, right?
Ilmeg.
Yeah, it was an Ilmeg. Yeah.
And there's also a little cave that had the new Beast Tribe guy with the little flying pigs.
Yeah, the Nomu.
Yeah. And there's people, again, that have seen this content multiple times, and they're like, oh, I didn't know that was there. I don't know. Yeah, they just didn't put deep exploration into like the game. Like a lot of people, like Larry and Tate, they just kind of stood in their spots.
I was in one spot.
Yeah,
I had my plan and I stuck to it. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's good.
I just, like I walked around a bit, but not like into every corner. I think the most fun thing I found was like in the Crystarium, there's like a chicken cage, and the chicken actually like you walk in and then the chicken makes a sound. It's nothing special. It was just hilarious when I walked in there and then you hear the fucking chicken.
You didn't see the Allegan node in the Crystarium?
I did not walk around much in there. Like I did not have much time.
I did, but I toggled the record incorrectly. So I didn't get that video. Yeah, it was really unfortunate. Like I spent 10-15 minutes walking around catching. I was like, oh, this is cool. This is everything. And then I look at all my VODs later and I was like, oh, I don't have it. Why is it not there?
Oops.
Same thing with White Mage actions. Like I didn't get those, although I did go back in a different video and recorded and ran over some of them, but I didn't get the detailed one where I quickly scrolled over everything. But you got to be careful. I mean, did you guys toggle your record on and off, or just leave it on?
I toggled it.
I toggled.
Same. Like for me, it was every time I left the PC to like go to the toilet or like grab a coffee or something, I toggled it off.
Yeah.
And I think I also, after I checked like all the tool chips, I also stopped. And at the start, I had like 2 or 3 like very short toggles because I was paranoid that it doesn't record. I was like testing and then checking if it doesn't actually record.
Yeah.
Because I never used like the Windows and G key recording thing.
Oh, would you have the G key? Was it
Yeah,
Shadow
it
Player?
was Windows and G. I have no idea what it was. They told me it's like
It was Shadow Player? Okay.
yeah.
I use Shadowplay for everything, so I know how finicky it can get. So all my recordings were like 10 minutes flat.
Fucked right up for me.
You can use that at home to like record. Oh my god!
Yeah, it's built into every NVIDIA card.
I'm a natural blonde. Don't judge, please.
I know.
I don't
my
use
God.
it. I don't use it. I use OBS for everything.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
I was thinking, oh god, recording with OBS would be such a pain if I want to make videos.
Yeah.
This
Brian does have a question here that I guess is pretty relevant, is how the setup was for us. I mean, we had a pretty basic setup. There's nothing too crazy about the keyboard, mouse, or anything. I don't know.
Like
It was
a
glowing.
RGB Logitech keyboard with a mouse
mechanical.
and 2 side buttons.
Mhm.
It was nice.
But
It was
did
mechanical, yeah.
It was
Did
clicking.
the side buttons work properly for you? Because I
Yes.
Yeah.
sort of wasted, so to say, 30 minutes because on my mouse at home, I have like the side buttons like linked to Control and Alt.
Mhm.
And that did not work. So someone from Square had to like download an external program just for me because I was like, okay, I need to test this properly. Like, make it work, please. I beg you.
I really wish that we were able to somehow like bring or email them or something our like character configs because I just spend like 20 minutes just setting up like hotbars and stuff to be able to fucking play the game.
I brought mine like on a flash drive, but somebody insinuated that we shouldn't do that. So I was like, oh.
They did? I did it.
I mean, maybe it wasn't compatible yet with like the build I had or something that you could like, I don't know.
I really wish I'd thought to do that.
But yeah, that cost a lot of time. Like that plus, as I've said, like making it like your setup at home. Because like I don't have a single key for like the skills set to the way that it's by default.
Yeah,
they all have like different like key bindings, and that was a fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah, that definitely took a bit.
I play pretty straightforward to what the default is, to be honest with you. Just a 1, 2, 3, then like shift 1, 2, 3 or whatever. You know, I don't go too crazy with it. So it wasn't too bad for me. I did eventually go back and set the HUD up a little bit more. The funny thing that I noted was that I think it was Larry, I think you did this too. Tate definitely did, and I think Drac did, is set your characters to look like your characters.
Yeah,
and
I
like
did that.
Glamour did. I was like, no way am I going to spend time doing that.
No, I did it really quick.
Yeah, me too.
I spent like a minute.
I wanted to see the Hrothgar and Vieira character creation, so I was already there. So I was like, I don't like these, so I'll just make my character.
Okay.
I mean, I'm recording and taking thumbnails and stuff. I needed to be my character. It's marketing, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I guess that's a good point. Like
I know my character.
I noticed you guys did that. I was like, I'm just keeping this Hrothgar thing that's on here with the weird mustache. I was like, whatever, dude.
You got that gross coral mustache going on.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It wasn't exactly my character. It was just like a sun cat.
Close enough.
I was literally your character, but green.
Yeah, like I just left everything default. Like I just went Catboy, Sun Cat. I changed the hair color. That's all I did.
Gotcha. And I also, the other thing that I made sure of, I was like, do I want to capture any of the customization of the characters? No. Okay, so I didn't do it. I just went on. But a handful of people did, right? And so it's
I
just
thought I would, but then I saw how bad Hrothgar customization was, and I got disappointed.
I mean, I did it for Vieira, but I only recorded like the pale Vieiras. And I was pretty disappointed with the faces. So when the benchmark came out, I was like, okay, let's give the other Vieira a try. And they have so much better faces. Like,
On the
there's
other
just
one?
like worlds between them.
Oh.
at least in my opinion. Like the mouths on the pale Viera are so fucking ugly.
Oh, can we also talk about how the Moogle head fits on Hrothgar? And like that whole concern is gone now. Like I don't have to worry about that. That's such like the biggest thing in the world.
It replaces their head.
Yeah, it's great. Like I wasn't expecting to be able to do that. They said they were going to be worried about that.
It's a straight buff to Frosty.
Yeah, huge. It's huge.
Are you gonna make a Hrothgar?
Absolutely. Fuck all this
Oh.
other
Be
pretty
Hrothgar
shit
Moogle.
characters and all this other stuff. I need like
Buff
a.
Moogle.
Oh.
Grr.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I'm so excited for Hrothgar because it's the first race in the game that's away from the generic, stereotypical, beautiful aspect of whatever the race is, and
Gotta be
Well,
that way, dude.
depends who you ask. I mean, the furries are pretty happy.
I guess
Wait.
I hate that. By the way, I want to say that it's very disturbing that like what I'm excited for is now associated with furries.
What's wrong with furries?
There's not, but it's not something that I enjoy, and so now I'm associated as a furry because I like
You're a
something.
furry daddy.
And you're not okay with that? You're not okay with being associated with furryism?
No, because it's not who I am, right?
Okay,
It's not
alright.
me, right?
Okay.
Understandable.
MogTalk is great.
I'm staying my cat.
You remember we were in a hotel room and you were recording stuff, and then we started talking about whatever the thing was with the chin. What was it?
What?
We had to
What?
tell Larry what a fupa was.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
And so we have like 30 minutes of conversation of fupa stuff in the hotel room with these guys. And so
Because I only ever knew that word from H3 because he calls the thing under his chin a fupa. I didn't know it was another word.
yeah. Athos, do you know what it is? No?
Apparently, it's another word.
It's another word. It's very disgusting, apparently. I don't know. Is it disgusting? I guess it is.
I don't
have
know.
no input at
Jess,
all.
do you
dude.
know? Jess?
I'm so good.
Mhm.
Maybe we won't go into it. All right, this is not MogTalk.
I wanna know.
Is that like a thing that you do with your toe?
No,
No.
dude.
Oh God, why do we have to like? Okay, maybe I brought that up because I thought it was funny. I didn't really want to go into it.
Fupa. Yeah, I know what a fupa is. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. It's in chat. So if you're watching the stream, you should be able to see it from there.
No, I've heard that. What, you saying that Hrothgar's got like a sweet fupa? Is that
No, that's not. But
I don't think I would ever describe fupa as sweet.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I am
Superb.
so glad that this show
yeah.
is about representatives of the media
Frosty,
tour.
you brought this up. You literally started this.
None of this? Yeah.
It was a reference point.
He's just
right?
like, what have I done?
No, it's cool. Frosty wants to go Hrothgar because they got that sweet fupa.
All right. Let's move on here. What else do we got to talk about with the media event here? We can. There has to be something else with the media event we could talk about and your experiences. Anything that stood out?
Honestly, it was a really nice surprise knowing that we were near Japantown. Like me and Jack were there the day before, and so like we just went to Japantown and got ramen and shopped at Weeb things, and we also did Furikura booths together.
That was pretty
It was
interesting, right? I don't know if that had any like they did it intentionally at all, but it was a 15-minute walk down the road.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was just something we weren't planning for. I'm like, hey, we're like super close to Japantown. Let's go. It was great. Highlight of the trip.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So they were talking about in chat here, talking about jobs and stuff, but I feel like there's what else is the job stuff. I feel like we've talked about it a good bit. At least the stuff that really stood out, like Gunbreaker, Dancer. Those are things that kind of stood out. Like when we go in there and trying to learn those jobs. All the other, and Summoner, I guess, was a difficult one to learn and everything, right, Larry?
Weren't you planning on doing another show more focused on the jobs anyway?
Absolutely. I'm gonna have a follow-up show that's purely just talking about the jobs and everything else that's going on. But we'll see. I really want to talk about the event today because you guys all went to it. You've experienced it in some way.
Right.
And I felt like that was pretty interesting to get into. You guys didn't try it. Larry, Tate, you guys didn't do the trust system, did you?
No.
No.
Someone next to me did.
I did
And
a lot.
she played White Mage.
Mm-hmm.
And she complained so hard. Like the first thing she complained about was that White Mage doesn't do damage anymore.
Mm.
And the effects of that, or the result was that like the NPCs also didn't really do damage. Minfilia is a fucking rogue at 73. Please do your job quest. And she stopped at some point because she just said it took so fucking long. I don't want to waste my time only doing this dungeon with the system.
Yeah.
Go in as a DPS.
I think they said like it's gonna be like good for like bad players or like new players and like slower for like good players, but everyone who tried it at the event who was not that good seemed to have big issues with it.
They said said it was balanced pretty much specifically around being able to clear the dungeon within like it would take like 30
minutes. Yeah.
30.
Yeah, and it did almost exactly. I did it twice. I did it as a Gunbreaker. I did it as Dragoon. I thought it was awesome because it gave a lot of like story flavor. Is that each one of your NPCs not only do they like react to mechanics totally differently, but they give like a running commentary of the whole dungeon. Like
you get a lot of personality.
Dialogue. There's 100 lines of dialogue in there of them reacting to everything, like reacting to mechanics, reacting to like the things that the bosses say, reacting to like random things that happen through the dungeon. That was really, really cool. And then seeing like their personality shine through in the mechanics, like in the last fight where you've got to like walk across the tightrope thing, they all approach it completely differently. Like Larryzaur just like does not hesitate and just like sprints right across. Thancred like walks to like the first corner and then just like shikuchis across the rest of the way because he's like whatever. ENJOYYY just like teleports to the other side. Like Minfilia is like doing this one, looking a lot like whoa. It was really, really cool. So I think that like doing it for story reasons or doing it for like I guess like lore filler is something that like everyone's gonna want to do at one point or another.
Yeah, I almost feel like I want to go through the dungeons just with the trust system.
Yeah, it's gonna give them. Yeah, well, because your experience with every single one of the trust NPCs is different as well. It gives them like an extra layer of replayability.
Yeah.
When they first talked about it, I was like, I'm never gonna do it because like it's cool, it's there, but I'm never gonna do it. But then as soon as I found out that there's dialogue, I'm like, okay, now I have to do it.
And I love how they react to the final boss. The whole bridge thing was really interesting. As soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, my first run through to 70 is just gonna be trusts, like once for every dungeon.
Yeah.
I think like you go first.
No, I was just going to say that the other interesting part is we can kind of assume we're going to get all these characters within one level. They're all the story for all these characters has to be within one level if we're going to get them for that first dungeon, right? Like
what's level 73, the first dungeon?
I thought it was 71.
No, that dungeon
was 73.
Yeah, that's the only. I thought there was one before that for 71.
Wait,
but we don't know how many of them we've got for that.
I thought it's 72 because like you know how right now you like if you're like max level and you do like a lower level dungeon, you get scaled up to like 2 levels above like the dungeon level.
I thought it was
and I was 74 in that dungeon.
Well, it's a level 73.
73 dungeon.
So you get like scaled to only 1 level above. That's interesting.
So I guess the one thing we know for sure is that they're available for the 73 one. I'm under the assumption that they're going to be available for a dungeon that we get at 71, minus maybe one DPS, because that's all they could do. They could take out 1 DPS, but they have to leave all the other ones in. And so we're going to see all these people that went missing pretty quickly within the story.
Well, we're also assuming that like we unlock them like linearly. I think it could be possible that, you know, we're going through the story with this party, right? People can come and go. Like we might have, you know, most of them for this dungeon. And then like, say for the level 75 dungeon, like ENJOYYY and Thancred might be off somewhere doing something. We might not have access to them, for instance.
Do we, like, I think what they have to do is like, they always have to have like one character who fills like that specific role.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, who else do we have who is a tank?
I don't know. We might.
I mean, there might be new characters, NPCs. Right?
Yeah,
that's
we don't know.
Maybe the what's his name? Shadow.
Maybe Arbit. Yeah, I mean, maybe.
I mean, it could grow. You're right. Because it did feel kind of weird just having extra. Was it an extra healer or extra tank that we had?
We had an extra healer.
Extra healer. Okay,
Yeah, we had Alphino and Riange, the
Mhm.
healers.
But we know we're going to see them by the time it's level 73. And I think the really cool thing about this whole system, too, is that they're programming them for the dungeon. They're not just giving you a generic AI, which is kind of what the squadrons were, to go and try to make the dungeon work. They were just like, we make sure they can work in this dungeon, so every experience you have is going to be a pretty decent experience with the trust system, I think.
It's a whole lot more work.
I did also hear that someone tried to do big pulls. We were warned about this too before everything happened. They're like, "Hey, don't do big pulls," because someone in EU did it and he died. So
In real life,
yeah. Oh yeah, in real life, absolutely.
Oh crap!
But if you do a big pull, you can do it, but the trust system stays at the initial mobs, I think. So you have to go to the next pull and pull them back.
Oh.
It may work. I don't know if it's much faster, maybe. But
I
mean, they do AoE.
Mhm.
They do.
I think the question is if they do heal enough to like and mitigate enough for big pulls.
Mhm.
I don't know. Like Uriange was healing pretty well when I was tanking.
Yeah, I didn't die.
I just like experimented. I experimented a little bit, and I was like, all right, this pool, I'm just not going to use any cooldowns, and I'm going to see like how he treats me. The only way to die really is on that first boss there if you get stun locked with the trusts.
I just fucking hate it.
And then do they not raise you?
No, they can't raise you.
They can't?
No. If you die, you go back to the beginning of the dungeon. You have to run through again. Like you just auto-release. Well, because canonically, like the Warrior of Light's not going to die. If you think about it, like, could you imagine if like the Warrior of Light fell and one of the Scions had to res you? Like, you never hear the end of it for the rest of the MSQ through the 10 expansions.
That would be
like,
funny,
they
though.
can't have that. That would be really funny.
Obviously, you're just seeing an echo. That's how you died.
Like, I could see Alisaie being really sassy about it.
Yeah.
I think what was the one thing that I will say is that they kind of give away the mechanics too while you're doing it because they do all the mechanics.
Like
they do.
Yeah.
Not perfectly.
Yeah.
And some of them do them better than others. Like for instance, when Minfilia gets like the like stack AoE on her, she like tries to run away. She's like not sure what to do with it. It's really cute.
I mean, fits the character.
Yeah. And then you've got like a lot of a few of them will sort of like hesitate before they go and do mechanics. They're like, oh, I don't know. And then you've got Alisaie that just like runs and does them immediately. Another thing with Alisaie, as soon as the LB bar is full, she limit breaks. Doesn't matter where you are. She will always steal the fucking LB from you. It is terrible. Fucking red mages.
So I think, I was a little bit upset about them introducing it because I felt like that would just kind of take away a little bit of like the community and doing stuff with people. But I'm not going to do it every single time, but I will probably go at least one time with the trust system to start the dungeon, right?
I'll probably be
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it sounds fine. It's just like during the media tour, I felt like there was like more important things than that system. You know, like you sort of know what to expect with like the barracks. Is it called barracks? Like, you know, like with the NPCs you can take now.
Yeah.
So like it's gonna be like more personal because like the characters are actually gonna have a personality, but in general, like you get like you know the idea behind it. So I was like, okay, rather like test like how do the new classes play and stuff like that.
Well, my attitude was like everyone and their grandma is going to be focusing on job stuff, and and not many people are going to be like examining the zones. Like I had a similar view of Frosty. I was like, how many people are going to be like spending the time to just like wander through these zones and get some shots and like talk about the zones? I was like, well, I focus a lot on Dragoon for my own interest and Gunbreaker and Dancer just so I felt like I was informed, but I spent like probably 4 of the 6 hours just like wandering around the zones making sure I got a shot of absolutely everything and digested as much as I could of them just because I knew that like there probably weren't going to be many other people covering that.
You need the Ethys and the Frosties in the world to get those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
But I guess I do want to talk about that dungeon a little bit more. There's one other interesting note to it. Was that last boss? That music was pretty crazy.
That was a banger.
So good.
That was a fucking
Yeah,
banger.
it gives me chills.
But the amount of things that boss did felt kind of interesting, right? And so I always think back to the mud boss of, I forget what dungeon it is, where you sit him in the corner. If no one heals, it's fine. Or you sit in the middle of the arena. If no one heals the tank, it usually works out either way. The one with the mud that shoots up and everything, and you can't let.
That's like the latest expert dungeon, I think. Saint Maki.
Yeah.
One of them, yeah. One of them were recent ones.
So I was thinking about that. Now I think about this one. This boss is a frog that turns into a pretty dapper ass frog that turns into a big giant slug crazy guy. Right, one from the 24 man. And then I don't know. It just felt more interesting overall.
Yeah,
Visually,
the dungeon fights in general, the mechanics were not boring for sure. Like there was always something going on. So yeah.
I really like the second boss, the tether one, where like
Yeah, I did too.
tether load, it makes the boss grow, but then if you take it, you grow.
Yeah.
I was like, that's cool.
Giving people a reason to do mechanics besides not dying is pretty good design, I think.
Yeah. I liked it.
Same thing with the DDR stuff in the Phoenix fight. Sorry, Jess.
What I thought was like a bit sad. Maybe sad is the wrong word, but I felt like the last boss personally was a bit like underwhelming, as it was just like a recycled Halicarnassus, sorta. Like, you know, like people who don't do Savage or even like the normal mode don't necessarily know it. But if you did that content, you're like, okay, this is like a recycled model in a way. And it's a recycled skill. Like I felt like the balancing thing, that was like a nice touch. Like when we went on there, we were like, oh, can you fall off? And all of us fell off, you know?
Well, I mean, like, you think, oh, I'm playing a game that gives me very gracious amounts of room to do these things, right? I can step off a little bit and still not fall off.
Yeah, no, you can't.
That's not the case.
But like, yeah, I felt like if you compare to like some of the like expert dungeons we have right now,
sure.
In general, I felt it was like a bit lackluster.
I don't agree at all.
Like I also compared it to Shisui, which was like the dungeon that was showcased in the last media tour, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And while I didn't play that at the media tour or anything, but obviously I played the dungeon in game, I felt that one was a bit more interesting mechanics wise. Just personal opinion.
I mean,
and like,
I think Shisui was a really good dungeon, yeah.
Okay.
I think Shisui was pretty. I think like visually Shisui was like, whoa. Whereas maybe this one a little less so. But mechanically, I think Don Meg was more interesting than Shisui, personally.
I don't know. I guess everybody will have their own opinions about it. I thought it was pretty straightforward. Hey, it was pretty cool. Crazy stuff. I like how almost everybody. The thing is, they didn't give you a telegraph or whatever. Is that right? Telegraph? I'm trying to think of the right word. Where your prediction of where something's going to happen, right? Yeah. All right. They didn't telegraph the when we turns you into a frog, right? And so constantly you guys were turned into frogs because they were looking at you and you were like, oh, well, whatever. And then got turned into frogs.
He does a cast bar and looks in the direction. I kind of picked that up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you know it.
Yeah, we knew it right away. Yeah.
But you still got hit with it.
If you don't know it.
I got hit with the last one because I was looking at a Phoenix thing.
Okay.
I tried to figure out a Phoenix thing. I was like, wait a minute, I was doing this wrong.
But that's part of the challenge, right? Paying attention to exactly what the boss is doing and not just looking at the ground the entire time. Because if you saw that on the ground, you'd be like, oh shit, I got to move out of it. But this one, it's.
But it was a bit like memey at some parts. Like at some point, I stood like well before time. I stood behind the last boss, and I still got transformed. So I was like, okay, so it's like.
Well, we had the problem. We had the problem that we were connecting to the dev server in Japan.
Yeah.
So
we
ping
were getting lag issues as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Like
we were getting 90K here and there.
I didn't notice it at all. And then I had a couple people saying to me, like, "Man, did you feel a little bit of lag?" I'm like, "I'm Australian. This is where I live. This is my home. It felt great."
I thought it felt really good, and that's why I thought we were on like local servers. Besides, of course, the 90 King, which they
that was, I think, absolutely because of the venue. Like they were having some issues with their stuff, and then they just squashed it after they saw it happening. So
yes, like they just fixed it like right away. But then when they fixed it, I felt like it was like really responsive. So I didn't know that we were connected to JP server.
I think we were. I think we were tunneling to the JP dev server.
Okay. That's possible. Yeah, that's the most likely thing. Yeah.
I mean, because the server name was kind of weird. I don't know if you saw it.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah, it was in the top corner. I can't remember what it was called. It's on a lot of videos, but it's something weird that.
Yeah, it did have a weird name. Yeah.
Now I want to know.
The server name was B-Tirica, like B-Tirica.
Was it the same for me? Yes, B-Tirica. Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. Well, then we know we had the same connection. Just we were from San Francisco and you were from London.
And apparently the computers were the same ones they used at like, what was it, PAX or something?
Yeah, somebody found screenshots.
Yeah, there were screenshots saved on the computer locally from PAX or some other.
That's good.
All right. I think we pretty much hit everything here, just in general about the media tour. I mean, what else we got? What else do we have that we could let people know that they might not know, unless if we talk about it here today? Tate doesn't smell bad.
Really?
Why would that be a thing that people?
I'm just saying. I want to clarify it. Tate doesn't smell bad.
Yoshi P doesn't smell like cigarettes.
No, yeah. You know what the fuck is that? Like he's smoking all the time, but you don't notice it. You don't smell cigarettes at all.
Good. He smells good.
Like in front of like every single like area, he always had a pack of cigarettes in front of him, but he just doesn't smell. Yeah, Jessica, dude.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, it's, I don't know. That was the weirdest thing is because I was expecting some sort of whiff from it, but
I mean, I wasn't expecting it, but I realized it later. I was like, wait a minute, he didn't smell like cigarettes, but he smokes a lot.
And this is like next to him and be like,
I mean, we're really close, to be honest with you. I mean, we took photos with him and stuff, so it's something that you would notice.
Like, wow, you don't smell like shit. I was expecting you to smell terrible.
No, you know what we mean, you little douchebag.
Oh my God.
Gosh, EU-wise, is there anything that we missed? Because, I mean, it's really hard. We don't know anything about what happened over in EU, right? It was all a little secret thing that only you and Jess really know about.
No, I mean, it was pretty much the same, just in a different venue with a bunch of people with British accents. It was fun. It was good.
Okay. All right.
Oh, when I was doing the interview, Imi was the one there translating, and we didn't say our names or anything, but when she was translating my first question to Yoshi P, she goes to Yoshi P and she goes, "Daddy-san," and then continues the question of it, and I just heard that and I was like, she said my name.
I actually might be an interesting topic was how was the sorry to hijack your podcast, but
do it just fine.
Somebody asked earlier how the editing process was for when we got home to when we had to release the information.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, I wasn't super ambitious with what I wanted to do, so it was a little bit easier for me, but I know for like Larry and Tate and Ethys, it wasn't a lot of fun, I would think.
It was fun.
How long Drek and Mary were like, we had like a group chat and we were just like dying and just like meeting and trash talking and shit like while we were editing.
Yeah.
to get
I
through it.
went a little overboard with my videos and kind of over edited them. So I kind of pushed the boundary there a little bit, but I'm pretty glad with how they came out.
Oh yeah, they were great.
Thank you.
And
I
at this,
spent
no,
a
go ahead,
lot.
Larry.
I spent a lot of time I wanted to, when I was talking about a certain skill, I wanted that skill to be visible. So like that took a really long time of like going through the footage and cutting it up and like making it so that whatever I was saying is what was showing on screen. So like I was like trying to figure out how much time like one of them took. Like I recorded like 3 of them, and then I was like, okay, I actually have no idea like how this is gonna look. So I just made one and kind of timed like how long that took me to do. And I was like, okay, if I don't sleep for like the next 2 days, I think I could finish maybe.
Mhm. Yeah, I didn't. I got like 4 hours of sleep a night that entire
God.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jess, you didn't do a lot of video, or did you do any videos? I don't believe so. You
Yeah, I
did.
I planned to do 4. I actually planned to do 5.
Oh,
like
okay.
or 6 in the very beginning. I wanted to do one with like just all the skills showing,
Mm-hmm.
but then like I knew like everyone from NA did the same thing, and like obviously you guys have a lot more reach because this was the first time I really did something on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, fuck that. This happened after I screenshotted like 10 of the classes, every single skill with like a snipping tool.
Oh, you did it with a snipping?
Ooh.
Yeah. That took a lot of time.
Yeah. Well, what we did is we just like we moused over each one for just a second while Shadowplay recorded, so we could snip when we got home.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Oh,
like,
but you talking about after? Okay.
But at home, that still took a lot of time.
I thought you did it at the event.
Oh god, fuck no. So then I wanted to do a video on Bard and Dancer. Then Bard turned out to be kinda nearly the same as now. And the stuff in the dungeon, like the things that like significantly changed, you could not really see in the dungeon. Mm-hmm. Because it was like things for higher level.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I scrapped that idea. Mm-hmm. Then I started editing a video and was done basically on like the zones. Mm-hmm. And the file got corrupted and it was all gone.
Oh no.
So I was like, fuck that shit.
So frustrating.
Tate knows a lot about it.
Yeah.
Shadowplay is so good.
No, it was like the file itself, like the Shadowplay file was fine. It was like my video file in the program that got corrupted when I wanted to export it.
What did you use?
I used Resolve, like DaVinci Resolve.
Never heard of it.
I'm probably gonna buy Sony Vegas now. Just like a humble bundle for $22 or something right now.
Yeah, buddy.
So and then I was like, I originally wanted to do English videos. I was like, can I even like compete with all these guys who have like, you know, they're like established community on YouTube, and then people make fun of my accent because obviously
I don't think people would make fun of your accent, to be honest.
They do. Like when
this is YouTube we're talking about. People would absolutely make fun of your accent.
Yeah. So
but then watch the video.
Like, so in the end, I did like a pretty bad video on like the AF gear because I made the mistake and just like rotated the character in like the character preview window and not like the actual big character. Mm-hmm. Then I did like the dungeon gameplay video on my dancer. That did pretty well for like my channel with like 150 subs or something.
Well, I feel like
just starting.
No, I feel like there's like absolutely value in, you know, regardless of like who makes videos on what jobs or whatever. Like, just if people want to consume all of this content, they're gonna watch it, right? Because it's just they want to see as much footage as they can. So
I mean, and also do it. I mean, doing it in English is good too, but I mean, doing it in German, who else is gonna do it in German?
The thing with like the Germans is they don't fucking care. So I did like a dancer video. Like you would think people want to know about the new job, right? Mm-hmm. You would assume that. Mm-hmm. So I like explained every single skill and translated it all into German and explained the whole like the feathers and the please don't hate me if I pronounce it wrong, esprit gauge.
That's right.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
I was
Yes, so I
confused.
actually did it right in my
Yeah.
video. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, it's a spree.
Guess the
Yeah.
Americans are more dumb than the Europeans.
Damn. All
Yeah.
right.
So
yeah,
I explained
okay.
that, and I made like a little chart with like what can proc what with what chance, and like
Yeah.
no one clicked. Okay, some people clicked it, but not a lot. And I don't know if it's simply because people don't care, or because like I don't have the YouTube following. But I mean, I put it on Twitter and like on my Twitch, and like there is a decent following.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm at the point where okay, editing is hard. I have to get used to it. And do I do stuff in German or English? Because the Germans don't fucking care. But I feel like for English, you have to have like something unique because there's so many people doing stuff already.
Mm-hmm.
And finding something unique with established people is pretty hard. Like find something that's not done yet. It's not easy.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys know about that. You guys all have been there, I guess, at some point.
No, Larry
What?
just made a video and he just there you go, he's done.
I mean, the thing like with YouTube and Twitch and like pretty much just like content creation in general is like everything's been done. It's just like how you do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
You know, like that makes it different.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's been done already.
Right. And I
Kind
mean,
of a thing.
it's interesting. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation going into like YouTube and
Yeah.
content creation, everything else. It's like we could talk about that for like years. But I mean, I think I'm glad that you're able to go out there and have your perspective, and that you were at least someone in the EU event that was like, hey, I played this game and I like this game. Because again, it sounds like there just wasn't a lot of people who were like that over there.
Yeah, it was really sad. Like I legit, I was like, when I saw the video of your reactions on like the job trailer, I was literally sitting here, I was like so sad. I was like, okay, why can't we have this in the EU as well? It was so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's upsetting to hear.
And I hope
I was making enough noise for everyone on Wednesday. I promise.
Ethys is a good hype boy. Yeah.
I am the best. I'm the best hype man.
If I was there in that situation where everybody around me didn't care and like I was the only one that did, I would probably still be like screaming and making a fool of myself because like, you couldn't even hold it in at that point.
I mean, you guys had to sit next to me when I was going through ninja changes on the client. I couldn't shut up.
No, here's the thing. Like, sitting next to Tate, like, he's constantly talking the entire time that he's going through
Because I wanted to get live reactions and stuff. You know, I had my mic hooked up.
Right. And it was pretty interesting. It's like, I'd turn over and respond to Tate every once in a while. I'm like, hey, yeah, cool. And that would be it.
Well, like I appreciated that. I actually appreciated that. It gave me more to bounce off of. But I wanted to like basically talk through the clips and kind of get live reactions and stuff to think about or talk about at the time as well. But I went a little overboard and got really, really excited about ninja changes and got pretty loud.
Oh, yeah. All right. Guys, I think we talked about a good amount. We've been on for 2 hours, 20 minutes here. Is there anything else you guys want to cover before we get off the air? Pretty good.
Yeah. It was fun.
It was fun. Thank you, Square Enix, for letting us go. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
For sure.
absolutely a great opportunity for us to go out there and do what we love to do. I mean, this is a passion, right? I do this because I want to do it. It's not anything really more than that for me. So I appreciate being a part of it. And I hope, for the most part, the people that you invited, you have good thoughts of after the event. That they did. I think everyone.
That Frosty guy's weird.
Yeah, they're like, oh, that Frosty, he's a little bit awkward. I don't know. Maybe never going back again. But you know, I think at least for the NA side, everything seemed smooth. Everybody was happy at the end. EU, I'm assuming the same.
Yeah. It was great.
Definitely. I like, the only thing I wished was that we would have had like a bit more time. But I mean, like, we took nearly 2 hours in a cab to the airport, which is normally like a 30-minute drive because of rush hour in London. So that's like not really Square Enix's fault, you know. That's just like circumstantial.
Yeah. Oh, here is a good question. It came from chat, and this will be the last one before we go into closing everything. After playing the stuff at the event and everything else, what is your main going to be going into the Shadowbringers? What are you going to focus on as soon as you log in? And Larry?
Summoner.
Summoner, of course.
It was going to be even if it sucked. So
Yep, fair. There you go. Jess?
Definitely dancer. Like sometimes the class just clicks with you. And I don't say this because it's the new class. It just clicked. That's insanely fun. I love dual wielding aesthetics. So yeah.
Okay. Ethys?
I can't betray a Dragoon. I just can't. And it feels so good. It feels really, really good.
It feels so good.
Yeah. It's super flashy now. And I'm gonna have like a healthy serving of dancer on the side though. Definitely.
Hey.
Ninja.
Okay. All right. I was thinking about just doing Paladin and going forward with it, but I mean at this point, screw it. I'm probably going to do Gunbreaker and get into it as deep as I can and just make it my thing. Even if whatever it turns out to be, I'm just going to do it. And see how I like it and everything else, and then I'll probably go back and experiment with other jobs and see if I like them or not. I kind of want to do Dancer too, so I'm a little bit on the edge of just completely changing and going into Dancer because it feels fun. When I played with it, it felt really fun to just play. And I know everybody's going to play Dancer and everybody's going to play Gunbreaker, but at the end, it's if I can log into the game and play with my trust, I guess if I have to, right? I'm still going to have lots of fun with it. So we'll see.
I mean, like last expansion, people, like everyone plays the new job at the start, but like not that many people stick with them. You know, like. Okay, that was partly because Samurai was kind of useless. But
oh no,
it's what it is. I mean, people will eventually just start to go towards meta and stuff if that's what they care about. If that's their priority, they're going to go to whatever the numbers work with the best. And the people who just
probably going to be meta.
Oh yeah,
what it looks like, yeah.
If nothing changes, it's meta.
Yeah. All right, Larry, in closing, is there anything else that you want to say?
I don't know. It's just the media tour was just absolutely amazing to go to, and I'm really glad that I was able to have that experience. Yeah. And all the video editing hell afterwards was fun too.
Where can people find you at, Larry?
I'm Larryzaur on everywhere. YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
If only. If only. Jess, any last words?
Well, first of all, like, thank you for having me on again.
Of course.
And yeah, I agree. Media tour was a lot of fun. I like a personal wish is that next time they do it, there's like more influencers in Europe as well, like who get invited. Maybe more influencers in general, because I feel like we have less than NA. And yeah, I guess that's it.
I'll go to 2 events. I'll go to EU and NA. I don't care. I'll do both.
Double the playtime.
Yeah. And where can they find you at, Jess?
Famously Jess on Insta, Twitter, YouTube. Let's see how that works out. Twitch, obviously.
Okay. Ethys, last words?
Yeah, it was cool. It was really good. Like, thank you all to everyone listening at the moment, listening on YouTube and in, all the other places that support any of us in any spaces. Like, the reason we get to go and do this shit is because of you guys. And you guys should not forget that, because we certainly never forget that you're our world and our livelihood. And it's just fucking awesome getting to deliver this kind of shit for you. But I am Ethys. You can find me on Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, wherever, all the places. Did I say YouTube?
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah.
EthysAsher. It's there. You know me.
Yeah.
And then there's the other guy.
The other guy. Okay. Tate, are you the other guy?
I might, maybe.
Last words, Tate.
So first up, thank you for Rusty for having me on another episode of MogTalk. I know I didn't have a whole lot of input this time, but it's always fun. And as far as the media tour went, it was an absolute dream come true, and I can't wait for the future of this game, as we're having another boom in the community. Like, when Stormblood came out, there was a boom, and now that this is coming out, there's another boom, and the community's on an uprise yet again. So it's awesome to see the game doing the rounds on Twitch and YouTube. So I'm excited to see where that goes in the future. And all in all, you can find me on everywhere: Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. At GoldenTot is my name everywhere.
All right. And again, I want to say I appreciate all of you guys coming on today. It's been awesome. It's been awesome just to kind of talk about the event itself.
Yeah.
Only so many chances you can talk with other people who went to the event and just kind of discuss everything. And I appreciate the different perspectives from EU and NA here just to kind of talk about everything. But yeah, guys, thank you everyone who watching the show. I appreciate everybody who lets us make the content that we're making right now and gives us a reason to. Thank you very much, Carrara, for giving me emotional support in the background. Blazana for making the layout that we have and some of the artwork that we do with the show. Andre Kane for allowing me to use that song, that remake he made of the guitar solo of the battle theme for Final Fantasy VII at the beginning and the end. And with that being said, we will be back next week. The plan for next week is to actually dive deep into theory crafting for the jobs and kind of what everybody thinks about that. So stay tuned for that. And we will actually be hosting somebody in just a moment. The guest will decide here off air so we don't have to feel bad about who we did or didn't choose. So hang tight for just a second while we do that raid. And remember, be good, keep cool, stay frosty. Everybody, wave say bye!
He said the thing!
Asterisk waves asterisk.
All right.